blood, cries of pain. Those who have just been born have already experienced the most terrible pain, the pain of loss. And they understood the horrors of war. A small blonde boy lay in the middle of the battlefield in the scorched nature. He was crying quietly. Before his eyes, probably the most terrible tragedy of his entire life had just happened. His own mother had died. Uzumaki Kushina sacrificed her life for the village, and most importantly, for him, for her son, Naruto. The newly converted Jinchuriki is still too young for such cruel and sad things, but looking at him, one thinks and feels as if he understands everything. And also who is to blame for this, and in whom the culprit was sealed. The young heir of the powerful Hokage looked with his eyes the color of a clear sky at the lying body of his dead mother, next to which sat his inconsolable father, covering his face with a wounded hand so that his son would not see his tears. Minato didn't even notice how an unexpected and unpleasant guest appeared on the battlefield. It was, undoubtedly, Uchiha Madara, one of the founders of the village that later became hidden in the foliage. He quietly walked up to little Naruto and took him in his free hand. With the other he was holding a through wound in his stomach, inflicted by the enraged Hokage, who was trying to stop the criminal at that moment. When Madara, who was now unrecognizable because of the mask, had already begun to dissolve into thin air, Minato noticed him. His broken heart began to beat in fear, and his breathing stopped. He rushed headlong towards the already incorporeal Uchiha, but it was too late. Finally, the unknown man in the mask hissed, "See you later, Namikaze," and disappeared without a trace. Minato fell to his knees and cried. But he cried not from loss, but rather from hopelessness. 7 years later. Naruto's POV. It's been a little less than 7 years since Konoha was attacked. A lot has changed in that time. Not even a lot, but almost everything, with the exception of a few things that have remained unchanged. My name is now Uchiha Menma, and I have every right to it. Madara-san told me who I am, who is sealed inside me, and my whole story 3 years ago. Then he offered me a deal. If I stay with him and obey his orders, he will give me one of his eyes, and also teaches me everything he knows. It seemed to me that it was quite profitable, and I was not mistaken, although I was very small at the time of this deal. However, I do look a lot like an Uchiha clan member. I have raven black hair tied in a low ponytail at the back of my head, pale skin, and even one Uchiha eye. It took a lot of work, all this transformation into a descendant of an ancient clan. But it seems I succeeded. And yet, trying not to stand out, I began to stand out more, ironically. Although I wear simple black shinobi pants, a black t-shirt with a fox on the chest, and a dark burgundy jacket with the clan's crest on the back and shoulders, nevertheless, to people I do not seem like an inconspicuous ninja, but a simple village boy. But I tell you, I even like it. And at the moment I'm packing my things for a long journey, since Madara-san said that I am Uchiha Obito, my father's student, we'll go on a difficult mission, and then I'll continue it myself. Naturally, no one wanted to explain the essence of the mission. It is only known that for this you need to go to Konoha. Okay, I put this too. I love this, I always mumble under my breath when I'm getting ready. Oh, I forgot the seals. I'll tell you about it later. Menma, Obito shouted, judging by his voice, hurry up. This is so annoying. Yes, I'm coming, damn it. Well, communication with the best outlaw of our entire gang, Hidan, will not let anyone go so easily. Stop swearing, you little brat. Who the fuck was talking? Or else I'll tell Madara. No, so what? They're people too, so even such sad assholes as this one know how to have fun. Oh, you scared me. I chuckled. By the way, I had already managed to collect all the remaining seals during this time. That's it, let's go, I shouted and left the shelter. Konoha is ahead of us. I wonder if my father will recognize me. Very curious. Chapter 1. Another Uchiha. When a member of one of the strongest clans appears out of nowhere, it is alarming, to say the least. This is what Minato, the fourth Hokage, reasoned when he compiled the new Uchiha's personal file. Flashback. Naruto's POV. We had almost reached the land of fire, wandering along unknown paths of some forests, along which I was dragged by my silent, relatively of course, companion. It was almost noon now. It was sunny outside. Obito, however, as almost always, was gloomy, although recently we had argued for 5 plates of my favorite rice. I decided to discuss a topic that had been spinning around in my head for a long time. Right now I had some free time, and it was also terribly boring. Toby-kun, Well, yes, that's what I call him. It's really cool, but it annoys him. Can I ask you something? What's wrong with you? My teammate said in a displeased tone, reacting as usual to the hateful address. What kind of mission is this? And why in Konoha? They can recognize me by my fox chakra. He looked at me in surprise, apparently expecting to hear something else. And what? I have no idea. Wait a minute, Madara didn't tell you. Something's going on. Well, okay. He nodded to himself, leaving the road and heading towards a small forest. To avoid being distracted by the road, we sat down under the nearest tree. The sun is undoubtedly cool, but after 3 days of travel we were sick of it. It's strange that you didn't ask yourself. I shrugged my shoulders vaguely, showing my attitude towards the missions of the Village Founders production. Let's start with the fact that you need to officially become a ninja, and first of all, a real member of the Uchiha clan, he continued. Are you implying that I'll go to the academy? My eyebrow rose in surprise. I'm not hinting, I'm speaking directly. I just snorted in displeasure. Listen to me carefully, I'll tell you briefly what you need to do to avoid revealing your origin. Otherwise, all of us, not just you, but the entire organization, will face unpleasant problems. He looked at me with feigned severity, trying to instill fear, but realizing that he hadn't succeeded too well, he continued his very useful instruction. First, behave at least a little according to your age. Don't be too smart, like Madara likes. And communicate with your peers, try to at least simulate emotions or even show your own a little. Books on psychology will help you. Second, don't show off your abilities, especially in killing, that's what you like. And especially don't even think about using the power of the Kyuubi. Got it? So he'll give it to me, I retorted, suppressing my indignation at this commanding tone. We're not on the best of terms. He doesn't like me because of my eye and my close relationship with the Uchihas. And it's true, I'm losing a good and powerful ally. Sad. And it also seemed to me now that someone chuckled loudly in my head. It's not good, but it can be fixed. Oh well. And thirdly, the last and most important, don't get attached to your father, and don't reveal your identity to anyone, especially Minato. It's worse for you. Uchiha became truly serious. Okay. I nodded thoughtfully. We immediately got up from the ground and moved quickly towards Konoha. 5 or 6 hours later we were already close to the village of the Leaf, passing shinobi and peaceful people dragging themselves along on missions. Their Obito abandoned me, throwing something like this with feigned sadness, see you later, loser, or, don't reveal yourself, Menma-kun. However, nothing new, I was almost not offended. And I wandered in proud solitude to the gates of the hidden village, wondering how best to get inside without starting an international conflict. Well, there's no one at the post at all, and all my grandiose and carefully thought out plans have gone to the founders. Well, that means I'll have to stomp straight to Minato's residence. I really hope that the security there is also sparse and not very interesting. By the way, when I got to the gate, the weather had already changed. The sky was covered with a leaden cloud, several lightning bolts thundered and no rain, not even a hint of droplets fell, which was a bit disappointing. It would have been very epic to appear in a merciless downpour. But everything is just very gloomy, and even cold. Therefore, I had to throw a thick black cloak over my favorite dark burgundy jacket. It noticeably added warmth, and I happily threw on a long hood, intending to scare off the local population. Madara wanted to give me the famous black cloak with a pattern of red clouds, but I wisely refused, not wanting to test the degree of fame of the organization among shinobi countries on myself. But, contrary to my expectations, while I was walking along the streets of Konoha, no one paid me the attention I deserved. And not just the attention I deserved, almost none at all, which was a little alarming and made me look for the reasons for such behavior. No, I, of course, have no desire to experience that creepy feeling when everyone is looking at me, but in general it is a kind of security measure against strangers, and it should be present. But, by and large, I don't give a shit. Sorry, I still can't get over it. A 7-year-old child is not allowed to swear yet. Such is the upbringing, you understand, Hidan and all that. I've known him for too long. Glory to the Renegons, I finally reached this damn residence. This despite the fact that I didn't even know which way it was. Well, they put it there, of course, but considering the length of the journey, the location is quite understandable. There's no way outsiders would have gotten there unnoticed. Although, okay, this is not my level of difficulty yet. For now, I carefully, so that no one would notice, ran to the door of our most honorable cage. 3,000 nine-tailed foxes, I completely forgot, the lens needs to be put on the right eye. In the left one there is a sharingan, and on the other I usually put onyx-colored lenses, you never know. I am a paranoid person. I try to think of everything for the sake of conspiracy. Well, now we can go to the torture chamber, ahem, to the office, I mean. He knocked, received an obscene and untranslatable answer, entered, dodged a folder with documents. He stood there and waited. Who else are you? Namikaze said in a tired voice, not bothering to look at my frightening appearance. Hello, Hokage-sama, I began formally. Although I really wanted to say a few sweet words, so that respect would increase a little, I came to your village because I want to learn the art of ninja. And later I want to get the rank of Chunin and Jonin. First, I need to go through the initial training course at the academy. As far as I know, the entrance exams should be tomorrow. He finally turned his precious attention to me, and the more I spoke, the wider his eyes became. He thought for a bit, apparently figuring out the necessary information in his head from all sorts of formal papers, and then asked, okay, if that's your wish, I need to compile your personal file. I'll need documents from you, if you have any, or you'll take a test to confirm your identity. He immediately pulled a brand new folder out of the drawer, opened it and prepared to fill it out, also putting some strange package next to it. I assumed that this was the test. First of all, I need last name, first name and date of birth, the rest later. Uchiha Menma, birthday is the 10th. I thought, because if I tell him my real birthday, he might suspect something. Okay, I'll lie a little, July 10th 1996, I answered. Anything else? I didn't notice the answer, and in general I didn't understand why he was so surprised. It seems like I'm in for a ton of questions. Uchiha, impossible. He looked me in the eye, and I realized what I could provide as evidence. I covered my right eye. It's just easier that way. I completely forgot to enlighten you. Surely everyone has heard that a transplanted sharingan cannot be extinguished. In other words, it is always activated. But no, or rather, it is not like that for me at all. I can easily turn it into a regular eye of a color convenient for me, and vice versa. Well, I activated my sharingan with two, I emphasize, two tomo. In general, to be honest, I naturally have three, because the sharingan is not mine initially, but a normal Uchiha at the age of 7 does not have an activated dojutsu in principle. Therefore, Madara taught me to control the power of the sharingan. With my filigree control of chakra, it turned out to be simple as pie. I was very pleased with the reaction of my interlocutor. Minato's eyes now resembled tea saucers. I hurried to put away the dojutsu, out of harm's way. So, I have to test you for Uchiha affiliation. I have to give him credit. He pulled himself together immediately, no objections. I shook my head, prepared for anything. Minato unfolded the bundle he had put aside earlier and pulled out a square piece of paper with an intricate seal written on it, apparently able to determine which family a shinobi belonged to. Wonderful. Drop your blood in the center. It couldn't be easier. He carefully watched my every action, as if preparing for an attack, but his fears were groundless. I bit my finger and did as he was told. The seal came to life and began to spin, playing with a soft bluish light, and then froze, displaying some illegible inscriptions. Minato took the paper in his hands, after which he sighed and nodded with satisfaction, going into his thoughts. How did this happen, you ask? Throughout my life, the apostates implanted Uchiha genes into me, so much so that only the clan's family seals can weed me out. Any other confirms this. How convenient. Well, Hokage-sama, what do you say? Namikaze seemed to wake up. Tearing himself away from his thoughts, he answered. Okay, everything is confirmed. Wait a bit, I'll settle the matter with the head of the Uchiha clan now, and let him deal with your settlement in the quarter himself. Having said this, he disappeared in a small haze, but a moment later appeared in the same place. What a cool technique, I want it for myself. About 2 or 3 minutes later, another man came in. Judging by his face, this was the head of the clan. What was his name again? Fugaku, I think, is his name. But it doesn't matter. He just stared at me blankly for a minute, after which he finally spoke in a cool and commanding voice, my favorite one, don't laugh. What's your name? Uchiha asked, reading all my emotions but running into their absence. He was unlucky. Menma, I answered calmly and measuredly. Who are your parents? Ooh, are you going to interrogate me? It's even more fun this way. I don't remember them. I demonstratively lowered my head. They died when I wasn't even a year old, I finished. Why are you looking at me like a fly at jam? Here are your super sad eyes. I see. Oh, wow, that worked. He nodded to the Hokage, who scribbled something in my personal file. I was distracted from spying on Namikaze's actions by another question from Fugaku. Why do you only have one Sharingan? And I, of course, foresaw this too. I still managed to relatively prepare for such questions. Now we'll have a good laugh. As I was told, once my eye fell under the technique of the man who killed my parents. Since then, it completely lost its properties as a dojutsu, and became an ordinary eye, and sadly looked away to the sky, pretending that memories had flown in. This is like my legend. I laughed myself, for half an hour, along with Obito and Hidan. By the way, Madara himself came up with this. Yes, that same great and terrible one. And how can you believe in such utter nonsense, complete idiocy? It doesn't happen. Such techniques don't exist. Even if they did, they would simply destroy the eye irrevocably. And yet, I have to use this story, otherwise Madara will be offended. I hope it works. I understand everything, Uchiha nodded. Well, it really worked. It seems that the Uchihas definitely know more about their clan than I do. Minato, I'll go, my sons will figure it out on their own when they get there. Itachi will take him to my house, let him live there for now, and then we'll see. Having said this, Fugaku left. Excellent, that's what we decided. Tenzo, Minato called. A moment later, a man wearing a beast mask, vaguely resembling a cat, appeared from the air. He was probably an Anbu member. Please invite Itachi here for me. And tell him to take Sasuke with him. Yes, the cat bowed and disappeared. By the way, I think I even know who Itachi is. He is a young genius of the Uchiha clan, very strong, and at the age of 8 he already awakened the Sharingan. He should be about 4 years older than me. I think he also has a brother, that same Sasuke. What a name. Before I could finish thinking it, the door opened and 2 brunettes walked into the office. One was taller than the other, and by quite a lot. The tall one had long hair tied in a low ponytail, just like mine. Only on top he had it lying evenly and beautifully, while mine always went in all directions, like a hedgehog's needles. It was terribly annoying, of course, but that's what you were born with, and genomes can't help here. The second one was a little boy, about 5 years old by the look of it. Maybe older, but for reference, I compare myself to him. I am quite tall for my age, largely due to hard training and proper diet and rest. The second one's hair stuck out in the back just like mine. Finally, a brother in misfortune was found. However, it looks like he is much younger than me. You called, Hokage-sama. The one who was clearly older began. Yes, Itachi, so it turns out it's Itachi and Sasuke. Wow, I really messed up. A mission, the elder Uchiha said in a serious tone, so much so that little Sasuke shuddered fearfully. No, you need to take him, he pointed at me with his gaze, to the Uchiha quarter, and place him there for temporary residence. You see what an important person I am. The geniuses of the clan themselves are taking me home. Itachi frowned after looking at me, and the little one hid behind him. Do I look that scary? Oh yeah, the cloak. It really is scary, I'm so glad. Brushing away non-existent tears, I took off the cloak with a slight movement, and those in the room stared at me with surprised faces. I didn't understand what was surprising. Probably my proportions are a bit large for a 7-year-old. But they don't stand out, and I'm wearing everything as usual. Black pants, a black t-shirt with a fox on the chest, and a dark burgundy jacket with the Uchiha crest on the back and shoulders. The first to leave was the elder Uchiha. Minato-sama, why our mansion? Itachi raised an eyebrow questioningly. Because your father decided so, the Hokage did not take his eyes off me. Besides, it will be much easier for him to keep an eye on the new kid in his house. It is sewn with white threads, but it will do for a child's eyes. The older brother had exactly the same assumption, judging by the expression on his face. As you say, I don't mind at all. Itachi bowed to Minato, and then turned to me. Let's go, Menma, I guessed and extended my hand to him. Nice to meet you, I'm Itachi, and this is Sasuke. He, to my rare surprise, shook it with a genuine smile. Follow me. Uchiha turned around and walked towards the door. His little brother held his elder brother's hand as if he was afraid that I would eat him or even worse kill him. 5 or 10 minutes later we had already reached the mansion. It was not as huge as I thought, but quite beautiful. A cozy garden in the backyard, and the neighborhood was very quiet. A little while later I was already sitting in someone's small room where I was sent, sorting out things, of which there were not very many, so I was mostly just kicking my butt, thinking about my luck. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, so timidly that there was no doubt who it was. May I? Having received my affirmative, Sasuke opened the door a little and quietly slipped inside. Good afternoon, I greeted him as softly as I could. He was such a cutie when he was little. Did you want something? Why yes, my mother, Makoto-san, asked me to call you to eat, if you want of course, the little Uchiha stuttered, apparently not used to having guests in principle. Are you afraid of me? I asked, smiling. No, he answered firmly, it's just. The firmness suddenly evaporated as soon as he looked into my eyes. What he saw there didn't interest me much, but I didn't want to ruin our relationship. Okay, forget it, I think I was invited, let's go. I patted him on the shoulder in a friendly way and left the room. Despite his misgivings, the boy followed with a timid smile on his face. Good, we're growing up. We reached the kitchen where the entire Uchiha family had already gathered, but that wasn't what attracted my venerable person's attention. My beloved rice was waiting on the table, fragrant. It's my main, one of course, but nevertheless weakness. Seeing how my mouth began to water at the sight of dinner, Makoto laughed amiably. Do you like rice, Menma-kun? I nodded quickly. She put my beloved, my favorite. Well, you get the idea. Putting a huge handful in my mouth, I broke into a blissful smile. This taste. Oh yes. How long has it been since I ate such delicious rice, who would have known? Damn, but I just remembered that tomorrow I have to go to the damn academy. No matter what anyone says, I don't really want to sit on my ass in an educational institution of this level. Damn, well, what can you do about Madara-san's quirks? In the morning we'll decide what to do with all this tea. And now, eat. The end flashback. In the Hokage's office. Yeah, what surprises this new Uchiha will bring us. Where are you, Naruto? The Hokage thought to himself, looking at the gloomy gray sky. Chapter 2. Ninja Academy. I wonder what it's like to have friends. Well, let's check it out now. This is what young Naruto thought as he walked into the classroom after Sasuke. Naruto's POV. Sasuke, Fugaku-san and I headed to the Ninja Academy early in the morning. Of course, having been raised from the warm futon with some effort, I was not in the best mood, but the new academy took it upon itself to fix that. As I entered the classroom, I thought exactly that. Oh my god, how many girls are here, and where are the guys? Ah, I found it. The head of the clan shamelessly left us with the ash-haired Junin, having first handed over our personal affairs to him. So, you are Uchiha Menma and Sasuke. He addressed us. I nodded, and the white-haired man smiled and beckoned us to follow him. I went straight away and pulled Fugaku's slow son along with me, since there was a risk that we would be crushed by the crowd of young females that ran up immediately after our arrival, a mad herd. Brr. Entering the classroom, the man pointed to the last desk where there were still some free seats, which we hurried to take. Boys, sit down as comfortably as you can and get ready, he winked at us ambiguously. We'll start getting acquainted when your sensei arrives. The ash-haired man smiled and left the classroom. I sat down at the desk, felt how awful and uncomfortable it was, but I'll have to endure it. I think we'll get a lot of beatings for skipping classes. I decided that it was worth looking around, and began to look at the students next to me, and while I was doing these observations, I didn't notice how the second Uchiha in our class had settled down next to me. But I didn't pay any attention to his displeasure, I just chuckled and continued my work. Several people at once attracted my tenacious but slow attention. The first were two identical representatives of the Hyuga clan with creepy but entertaining empty eyes. Byakugan, what can you expect from him? Next, they were followed by a guy with a ponytail on top of his head, who was sleeping on the desk. He had a very calm and unnoticeable aura, and it was definitely not due to stealth training. Next to the Hyuga girl sat another funny man, with a dog on his head and strange tattoos on his cheeks. While I was looking at my new curious classmates, Sasuke was watching me closely. I don't know why, but he doesn't trust me too much. Well, that's understandable, a voice thundered in my head. You can't be trusted at all. I chuckled to myself. The fox that is sealed inside me is usually not very talkative. And he tries to ignore me. I tried to establish contact with him, don't think so. I really tried, but he is too old, in the age sense, and also terribly biased, which almost does not give me a chance to gain any trust. However, apparently, when you sit in the same person for 7 years, you want to talk anyway. And now it is not enough for him just to have my insomnia, he also makes me schizophrenic. Oh, Kami-sama, at least shut up. I waved her off roughly. You're especially talkative today, I said more softly. I was distracted from my thoughts by several hellos, at once, and I finished my mental conversation with the biju. What's your name? I noticed 3 guys approaching me, 2 of whom caught my attention then. Interestingly, I didn't even notice one of them at first, as if he wasn't there. Very curious. Menma, I answered indifferently, trying not to show any interest in anyone. I'm Kiba, said the one with the dog, and, smiling pleasantly, extended his hand in greeting, and this is Shikamaru, he pointed at the pineapple-headed one. Because of the ponytail on top of his head, he really did look a lot like a pineapple. I think there were jokers who made fun of such a resemblance, and Choji, the third, was an unusual fat man with a pack of chips. Hello, Shikamaru waved his hand in greeting, and then sat down next to me and immediately fell asleep. So that's what makes him special and unnoticeable. He doesn't try, it's his own innate essence, such good skills. Sasuke, who was sitting on the other side of me, glanced at him, as if I didn't know what, and then moved away out of harm's way. And who is this punk? The fat guy asked quietly, pointing his finger at the guy sitting next to me in a not very civilized manner. He's kind of gloomy. I hope the aforementioned guy doesn't hear, otherwise it will be a total mess. Pussy is nervous, God forbid he does something, and then I'll probably have to clean it up. Easy on the turns, I glanced at Choji warningly, which made him immediately fall silent. His intuition is well developed, but as for his intellect, I can't say how bad it is. I changed my gloomy expression to a cheerful one, and pushed the second Uchiha in the side so hard that he jumped in surprise. I think I'll get into trouble for this in karma, but it was a lot of fun to pull off. Meet guys, this is Sasuke. I nudged the black-haired man again, and he nodded and said, hello, he is the one who needs to be advised to read Obutov's books on psychology. He doesn't know how to show emotions at all, and there's no talk of simulating them. He's an amateur. Sasuke, this is Kiba, Choji, and Shikamaru. I calmly pointed at each of them in turn, after which the remaining guys sat down at the neighboring desks. The same Junin we saw at the very beginning entered the classroom, and another one. He had a large scar on his face, and his hair was tied in a high ponytail. Hello again, guys, the white-haired one began, looking sideways at me. Here is your new teacher. He pointed at his comrade, not taking his eyes off me. Ugh, what a pervert, what does he want? And I'll go. Having said this, the ash-haired one somehow quickly retreated. Suspicious guy. I hope he can't read minds and doesn't know that I called him a guy. Hello everyone. He looked at all the students who had arrived with an appraising glance, and stopped at me and Sasuke. Once again we were receiving so much attention, it was starting to get annoying. My name is Yumino Iruka, I will be your teacher, and now please introduce yourself to the class. Who's first? Kiba was the first to raise his hand. My name is Inuzuka Kiba. He said cheerfully, is there anything else I need to say? He turned to Iruka without changing his tone. That's enough for now, who's next? Yumino replied. He's very friendly, the choice of him as a teacher for the academy is understandable. He's to my taste, a good sensei. Not like those Uchihas, may they all get hiccups. I raised my hand to distract myself from criticizing my family. Sasuke stared at me in shock. I am Uchiha Menma. When I mentioned the clan, our sensei stared at me in surprise, as if he expected that pale, emotionless weirdos could be someone other than the red-eyed ones. After me, oddly enough, my neighbor spoke. Apparently he has a strong spirit of competition. He was unlucky with his opponent. Uchiha Sasuke, he said calmly. Iruka's eyes turned into saucers, and his jaw crashed through the floor of the room. Figuratively, of course, but it would be very funny to see this in real life. I just don't get it. What's so surprising about it? The fact that 2 Hyugas are studying here is nothing, but what about Uchihas? There's no limit to the surprise. You'd think that Itachi was the only one who could study here without any problems. Or maybe such a reaction is because no one knows about the third son of the clan head, therefore the potential threat to the village has increased. But this is all too tedious, so I was distracted from my thoughts again, this time by something pink. What a horror, does this happen? I hope she's just died, or is it just natural? My name is Haruno Sakura, well, at least the name fits. I'll be optimistic. Yamanaka Ino, since I comment on every performance, I'll say right away how terribly I hate the Yamanaka clan. And don't even ask why. Horror, and can you imagine if they send her to my team? I'll hang myself. Hyuga Hinata, stammered the dark-haired girl in the baggy sweater who was sitting next to Kiba. I wonder how old she is. Although she looks small, for her age she has rather large eyes. Yes, eyes. And a cute face, definitely my type. If it weren't for those creepy eyes of hers, the Byakugan that are there, I would immediately roll my balls, so to speak. Oh well, the chance will come. Hyuga Neji, the long-haired guy said with a smirk, expressing all his contempt on his pretty face. Maybe not pretty, but definitely not manly. Not very impressive either, let's move on. Takashi Tenten, his neighbor muttered, blushing. But the empty-eyed one has fans. An ordinary girl with poor chakra potential. Her abilities must be more for weapons. The seals told me so. Akamichi Choji, so this is called Akamichi. Not very interesting. Nara Shikamaru, the pineapple sitting next to the fat man said lazily. Well, we've decided on the nickname, now let's analyze. If my memory serves me right, Nara is a shadow clan, engaged in analytics and the development of tactics and strategies. Therefore, they must be calm, reasonable and unnoticeable. This explains everything well, but he is very lazy due to his great intelligence. That's why he prefers mental thoughts to business. I understand, we need him as an ally. I also remembered that there is a combination, Ino Shika Cho. It seems that now it is another version of them. In the future. Rock Lee. The whole class shouted. I don't even know how to describe it. A bowl-shaped haircut, eyes like two saucers and terribly thick eyebrows. It's crazy. By the way, the chakra circulation system is badly damaged, he won't be able to use it, and yet he is strong. I can feel his strength even sitting far away. Perhaps you shouldn't underestimate him. Aburame Shino, beetle breeder. I can't stand beetles, disgusting. I didn't listen any further, because I didn't care. There was definitely nothing special there, since I hadn't noticed it before. By the end of the day in these most boring classes, where I knew even more than I needed to graduate from this very academy, I had already found myself a couple of interesting interlocutors, as well as potential rivals and friends. There weren't many of them, but I wasn't focusing on quantity. However, besides them, I also found those who irritate me terribly, sometimes to the point of grinding my teeth. It was easy to find a common language with Neji, Kiba, Shikamaru, Tenten, Choji and even Hinata and Shino, but Sakura, Ino and Lee are walking fucks, excuse the expression. I couldn't find any other words, especially cultural ones, it's an indescribable horror. If Rock is just an idiot, and no matter how strong he is, it will not cancel out his stupidity, and Ino is a young fool who fell in love with Sasuke's feigned coolness and pretty face, then Sakura is pretty smart, if by smart you mean the results of the entrance exams. And this super smart pink-haired girl is not running after the second Uchiha, because she knows how cold and selfish he is, and also that he is not interested in girls, and it is not clear where this sly one got such information. Believe it or not, instead of Sasuke she is running after me, and literally running. She decided that I am not such an arrogant ass as my dear friend. Which is basically terribly illogical. Well, screw her. Not only that, but Iruka also praised me for writing all the tests perfectly. Now I'm white and fluffy. Although I would prefer not to stand out, I'm still not used to receiving praise, and it wasn't very pleasant. A little awkward, my emotions that Obito talked about must have come out. Sad. And with a satisfied face I trudged back to the quarter. Sasuke was a little disappointed, but I had neither the desire nor the opportunity to find out why exactly. When I entered, I found a note on the table addressed to me and him, which said, "There's dinner in the fridge if you want it. Menma, there's rice especially for you." The contents pleased me, and my mood began to rise. Hooray, rice, I said cheerfully, putting the note on the table. Walking up to the fridge, I sighed and opened the door. There were only a couple of vegetables inside. Besides a saucepan and some big bag, the contents of which didn't attract my particular attention. Well, they don't have much here, Kyubi drawled, which surprised me a little, and also angered me, of course. Fuck you, what business is it of yours? I sighed mentally. No, honestly, I've been silent for 7 damn years, and now I decided to have a conversation. You can't understand these tailed ones. Oh, how angry I am. Well, my relationship with him isn't going well, I'm not very good at building relationships, and he doesn't trust me, which is strange, considering that I didn't even try to control him with the Sharingan. Oh, listen, when you have time, drop by, we have something to talk about. That's it, so that he himself would want to talk to me about something. And without insults, I'm definitely missing something. What is this habit of everyone here of distracting me from my thoughts? Sasuke carefully came up to me from behind and touched my shoulder with his hand, and Pain sees that he was lucky that I came for rice, otherwise reflexes are like that. What? I asked rather rudely, without turning around. Oh, Just like that. Why are you standing here? He looked at me questioningly. Well, he's still a sweetie. I can't take out my aggression on him, it's somehow not very adult. I closed my eyes, sighed deeply, and taking a plate of rice in my hands, walked away from the refrigerator and sat down at the table to eat the delicacies and eat away my sadness. Sasuke closely watched my actions, and then he himself went to the refrigerator and took a cake. And they didn't say anything about it in the note. Damn, the only thing I love more than rice is cake. I ate all the rice at great speed, and with sadness in my eyes I stared at Uchiha, slowly devouring the sweetness. He looked up at me, then down at his food, then back at me, and then, with his mouth full, he said, "Whatif." I nodded, and he handed me a fairly large piece. FANFICTION, I smiled with my mouth full. Oh, he's an even bigger cutie now. He shared his cake with me. I was even grateful to him, and allowed myself moments of joy. Sometimes it's okay. For about 2 hours we just chatted about the past and possible future, alternately telling different stories from life. He told me about his brother, and I about my travels. And it turned out that the guy was not bad, even funny, but boring. After some time, which flew by unnoticed, Sasuke's parents came home. He somehow became strangely sad and lowered his gaze, stopping our conversation and again becoming faintly serious. I think I guessed what the reason was. But it's not really my business. I gave Uchiha a friendly pat on the shoulder and quickly went outside to get some fresh air. Having decided that I needed to talk to the fox, I climbed onto the roof. Closing my eyes, I easily penetrated my subconscious. As always, I had to get to the Kyuubi's cage through narrow and dark corridors, in which there was always water on the floor. The air was stale, and actually remained so, although I aired everything here many times with improvised fans. It didn't help, but oh well. But now I had reached the large hall where the nine-tailed one was. You came after all, the fox growled. You wanted to talk, so talk, I said indifferently, not paying attention to the chakra tails reaching out to me. I want to tell you something about Madara. I knew it started again. Enough is enough. I sighed resignedly and looked into his eyes, hoping I had expressed enough displeasure. Don't be afraid, he drawled, noticing my skeptical gaze, that's not what I'm talking about, so, and what's the point of all this? And about what? I asked with a slight grin. I admit, I was seriously interested. About who was really behind the attack on Konoha 7 years ago. 2 years later, Team Distribution Day. It's strange, Itachi never told him the reason for his actions. But now the terrible truth won't change anything, Sasuke will always hate him for it. Menma sat at his desk and watched his neighbor closely, mentally calculating what all this would lead to in the future. Chapter 3. Memories in a New Team. I'm not sure about this, but it seems like I'm almost the only one who knows the real history of the Uchiha clan. Menma was still sitting at his desk with a gloomy face, thinking about the events that had recently happened. Flashback. Some time ago. Naruto's POV. At this time, I usually, according to the recently established schedule, lay peacefully under the starry sky, now chatting with Kurama. After that conversation, our relationship improved. He told me a lot of interesting things, I don't even know where to start. First of all, it is worth mentioning that, in the opinion of the fox, I am a fool and a simpleton, and I am being brazenly led around by the fingers of wiser and more mature Uchihas, which is not particularly surprising, but makes me think. But this is all poetry. I will tell you later. Lying around carefree and absorbed in conversation, I suddenly felt a strange movement in the house, not much like the usual 9 o'clock at night. And considering that I left training before Sasuke, it was definitely not him. Then who? I quickly got down from my usual place and quietly, looking around warily, entered the mansion. There was a dead silence. The light of the full moon softly descended on the wooden floor. I felt a wave of something incomprehensible running from the room of the head of the clan. What was this strange feeling? Excitement? Fear? No, something was wrong. And I understood what exactly, instantly remembering the accuracy of my own definition of the silence that had formed around me. Approaching Fugaku and Makoto's room, I resignedly opened the door, already subconsciously realizing what I would see. But what I saw now, it was more terrifying than I had imagined. Although attractive, it was no less unnatural. 2 cut, bloody corpses, illuminated by the moonlight, lay carelessly on the cold floor. Next to the bodies stood a man in a regular Anbu uniform, only without a mask. It turns out it's not that hard to guess who exactly it was. Itachi, I said quietly, mentally slapping myself for my voice that had cut through at the wrong time. But he simply raised his head, though his eyes were glowing with the scarlet manjico. It looked beautiful, but I tried not to show my interest. Oh, it's you, Menma, Uchiha said disappointedly, not taking his eyes off me. I think if he wanted to catch me in genjutsu, he would have done it already. It seems I'm really lucky. How did this happen? I was just beginning to understand what a mess I was really in. You did it to all of them, right? I asked very quietly, hoping that he wouldn't take me for an inquisitive and unnecessary witness. But he just nodded, judging by the aura, and didn't think of killing me right away. I noticed something and concentrated, trying to ignore Uchiha. Wow, I definitely know this feeling. Madara is here, and pretty close. So I'll ask him what the hell is going on here. I was already leaving the room when Itachi called out to me. Wait, where are you going? He grinned, apparently deciding that I intended to escape in such a primitive way. To look for Madara, that's how his eyes formed. Lee would definitely be envious if my comparisons really reflected reality. You know about him? He asked, not very much, but quite surprised. There's nothing surprising about that. I'm much more surprised that you weren't told about me at all. I didn't want to waste time, but the damn time was dragging on by itself. Damn it, his little brother will be here soon. I need to get out of here urgently. Suddenly I heard a familiar voice behind me. I said that the son of the fourth Hokage is in the village, but I didn't say who exactly he is. Are you saying that Menma is? He was cut off by the elder Uchiha's commanding gesture, cutting off his continuation. It gets to me every time I see the founder talking to strangers. A shining example of the absence of any emotions at all. He is cold but polite, rude but like honey, powerful and sweet. Yes, I'm a fan, no comment. You already know it yourself, Itachi. He, having felt everything on himself, only nodded in agreement. Madara-san, Sasuke will be here soon, I warned cautiously. Got it, Menma, come with me, I have a talk. And also, Itachi, if you don't want to, you don't have to kill your brother. He nodded at me amiably and left the room silently. Looking back at the remaining Uchiha, I noted with satisfaction that the change in communication style definitely did not go unnoticed. But it was still worth hurrying, and I, sighing resignedly, followed. We walked along the street and jumped onto one of the roofs. What did you want to talk about? I asked with a grin, allowing myself some liberties. I wanted to tell you something about the modern Uchiha clan, or rather show you something. Look me in the eyes, he said calmly, chuckling. Got it, I nodded in response, directing my gaze into his pool. Sharingan, he shouted, and I fell into a dark world of illusion. He showed me part of his, still ancient, history, about his brother, about the feud with the Senju clan. That is, what I more or less already knew, although my friendship with Hashirama had shocked me a little, as had the death of my younger brother. Well, and then everything went in a completely different time. In ours, the present. Here I see Itachi meeting with the elders and the Hokage. They discuss long and painfully the Uchiha clan's conspiracy against Konoha. And so my father gives a mission. To destroy, to kill them all. To cut out all relatives, friends and loved ones. And the maniac Itachi takes it on for understandable, but very complex reasons. And he carves a bloody mark on the ancient clan. He killed everyone, except, perhaps, his little brother. Well, at least they allowed him not to kill Pussy, and thank goodness for that. Then comes the part about the murder itself. As I thought, Madara helped in this difficult matter, although I am sure that the genius of the clan could have done it himself. It would have been better if he had done everything himself, without involving anyone. But that is none of my business. Thanks to the participation of the elder, I found out some interesting information. It is a sin to complain. So, it was he who killed Shisui-san. And I already thought that the root of Anbu interfered in something that was none of his business. I see, so fortunately Shisui's Mangekyo is with Itachi. But finally the genjutsu was over, and I, breathing heavily, nervously looked at the sky, trying to put my thoughts in order. Now you know everything, but don't even think about telling anyone. The founder of Konoha shouted, looking menacingly at my body sprawled on the roof. Okay, I answered in a hoarse voice, not bothering to observe manners. Still, his illusions take up a decent amount of chakra. The end flashback. Naruto's POV. In short, I still haven't figured out why Itachi doesn't want to tell his brother the truth at all, even after several years have passed. It's understandable now, but I haven't found any reason to hide it in the future. Sasuke doesn't seem to be planning on remaining a weakling and a wimp forever, he'll at least grow into something Uchiha-like. Well, I hope so. Oh well, that's not the point now. However, there is no limit to the joy, the atmosphere is tense and threatens to ignite from a wave of impatient students. Today in the academy there are unusually many cheerful exclamations. Well, of course, today is the last day, and to the surprise of the teachers, everyone is genin, and we will all finally be divided into teams of 3 people, and they will also issue a tame sensei as a training column. Just kidding. In the classroom, everyone was already sitting in their places, waiting only for the late teacher. Iruka suddenly entered. He was holding a folder, apparently with lists of future teams. Several more junins entered after him, who, according to guesses, would also be our coaches for the near future, but no one seemed to be anything special, which slightly upset me and spoiled the spirit. But let's not rush. So, guys, Yumino began cheerfully, alternately looking around at those present and trying to find truants, of which, naturally, there were none. Curiosity overcame laziness. Today is the last day at the academy. And today, I will distribute you all into teams. He, realizing this, smiled, and, opening the folder, continued, Team number 1. To be honest, I was only interested in a few people I knew, so I ignored the rest without a twinge of conscience, concentrating on the individuals I was interested in. Team number 7. Uchiha Menma, we connect the commentator. So, an intrigue. Remembering the principles of team distribution, I should not be mistaken in my assumptions. Haruno Sakura, oh no. Not her. Universe, why am I being punished like this? Uchiha Sasuke, well, that's it, I'm going to drown myself. Gurgle gurgle, how is that possible? How is that possible? It seems like everything is not distributed that way. Hidan, help me, my vocabulary has run out of rudeness. Team number 8. Inazuka Kiba, Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, well, nothing special separately, there's nothing special about the team either. Team 9. Rock Lee, he began with intrigue, I was even curious, who got such happiness? Takahashi Tenten, Hyuga Neji, oh, poor Byakugan. Team number 10. Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, here it is, here it is, here it is. I knew it, I knew it. A new version has formed, these are the same, Ino Shikacho. What a nightmare, it seems the fortune teller in me has died. Slowly and in agony, because I could not foresee my hard labor. Everyone, guys, sit down at your desks as you are in teams, your teacher will come to you now. Having said this, Iruka retreated. However, surprisingly, I didn't have to change seats. I was already sitting with Uchiha. So Sakura, who was terribly pleased, almost indecently, just sat down with us. In about 20 minutes the classroom was empty, only us were left. We sit for an hour, sit for 2. I joke. It's not so funny anymore, because soon the joke will become reality. I'm incredibly curious, I began with sarcasm in my voice, who is our future indecently unpunctual sensei? I can't stand latecomers, to such a great extent. Sasuke just smirked, remembering that he once felt my anger about arriving at the wrong time. And Sakura, apparently, was completely out of the loop about what was going on, so she simply blushed, deciding that my appeal was directed directly at her. How creepy. Another 40 minutes later, the unfortunate man finally showed up, unaware of the fate that awaits those who anger me. But the goat's innocent appearance confused me, and I didn't have time to react properly. Well, never mind, I'll have time. And I tell you, he looks funny. He looks like a regular zenin with a bunch of junk in his pockets, but you can only see one eye on his face. He has a protector on his left eye, and a mask on half his face, presumably hiding a huge, scary wart on his nose, or an equally scary scar. Or just a tribute to the past. Which doesn't really make a difference, although it is quite curious. The rest of him is as simple and unremarkable as possible. His hair is gray, his eyes are black. Hello, guys. He smiled with his eye, having managed to amaze me, the great one, with this skill. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. I choked and was amazed even more than before. I hope this is just a coincidence. He is, damn it, Obutov's teammate. And they, as I know very well, should have the same. So that's what he has under his eye patch. Sharingan. Now that's interesting, but he interrupted my thoughts, finishing his own, introduce yourself, and tell me a little about yourself. Set an example for us, sensei, Sakura said cheerfully. Okay, you already know my name. What I love and hate is none of your business, my dreams will not be interesting to you. I won't tell you anything more about myself. Damn, old devil, he didn't tell you anything anyway. Well, screw you, goldfish, I'll find out everything myself later. Now it's your turn. Having listened to the sensei, I decided to get going right away. My name is Uchiha Menma. I hate naive idiots who haven't had a taste of real life yet, but have already decided that they are the strongest and smartest. And I love eating rice and cakes. As for my dream, I want to get one thing. I dreamily closed my eyes, indulging in the contemplation of the treasured thing in my imagination. I'll tell you more about what I want. I promise to tell you a lot. Patience. Meanwhile, Sakura took the floor. I'm Haruno Sakura. There are no things I hate, but I love a lot of things. And a meaningful look in my direction, which I almost had to dodge. I don't have a dream. Well, she nailed it. What stern ladies we are, however. Hitaki shifted his gaze from Haruno to the second Uchiha on the team, expecting a more detailed answer from him. My name is Uchiha Sasuke, he began sullenly, not intending to live up to the teacher's expectations, for which I was grateful to him. There are many things I hate, and nothing I love. I wouldn't call it a dream, but I have a goal, to revive my clan and kill one person. I just grinned at this, realizing that he was still a long way from his brother's level. Well, Kakashi clapped his hands, realizing that he couldn't achieve anything more with just talking. Well, I guess, tomorrow I'll give you a test training. Come to the 7th training ground at 7 in the morning. And don't eat in the morning. Having said this, he disappeared into thin air. I immediately stood up and stupidly fell off the roof, leaving my comrades to cuckoo alone. The next day. If this continues, I'll personally stuff him into Kamui. Obito taught me that. Team 7 had been waiting for their teacher at the designated place for 2 hours. Menma was dozing on a tree branch, dreamily recalling the book, 1001 Ways to Kill, written out of boredom by Hidan, as well as the practice with the missing nin using this very book. Sasuke was nervously pacing from side to side. Sakura followed Menma's example and was already fast asleep on the grass under the tree. Chapter 4. The Element of Metal. Naruto's POV. The next day, my entire team and I, with the exception of our beloved sensei Kakashi, naturally, gathered at the appointed time at the training ground under the modest number 7. What a coincidence, because our team enters adulthood under this mystical number. Something is wrong here. Okay, I'm kidding, it's boring to sit here with these silent idols. And it's not entirely clear what you can talk about with them. So I have to somehow entertain myself. You can tell stories. For example, do you want a funny one? Let me tell you about Akatsuki. In fact, I don't know all the representatives of this criminal organization. In short, only 3. If you count Tobi-kun, of course, but I don't like counting him, he's nasty. In the end, we have only 2. The first was Itachi, who recently joined them, and with whom I'm still establishing good contacts. Well, I'm trying. But the second and funniest is Hidan, although it was only some time ago that he became a member of the organization. I knew him back in those terrible times when my skin was tanned and my hair was blonde. That is, a long time ago. One of my best acquisitions in terms of allies. So, the story of our acquaintance is even funnier than the story of our communication, although there were some jokes there too. Take the same meeting of the missing nin with Madara. They still don't communicate. We met, oddly enough, on my very first mission. If anyone in Konoha had found out how old I was on my first mission, they would have had a heart attack, and no matter what a shinobi. 5 or 6 years old, naturally, the mission wasn't that difficult. I don't remember much about the gist of it, but I had to keep an eye on some big shot. And that big shot was riding in a carriage, and so conveniently crashed into the aforementioned Hidan, at full speed, with the corresponding consequences. Just not for the man himself. The cart was turned to hell. I wasn't even surprised to find my target dead. However, I was more interested in the obstacle the cart ran into. I don't quite remember how, but I found out empirically, I think, that Hidan was immortal and for what reason. But he cursed so wildly and didn't let me examine him, that I had to give him some liquor that Madara had given me, for some unknown reason. Having become a bit tipsy, the missing nin instantly stopped twitching and stuck to one spot, which then allowed me to bandage him. Which, however, was not necessary when I found out that he needed to be sewn up. Well, I sewed it up. Despite my meager skills as a seamstress, the involuntary customer was pleased, which served as the beginning of our fucked up alliance. Returning to our days, I want to mention that besides Akatsuki, there are other renegades, very funny ones, with whom I spent my entire childhood. So I told you. However, after 2 whole hours from the appointed time, when I was already dozing on a tree branch, it finally began to dawn on me that Sensei had gone nuts. Meanwhile, Uchiha was nervously and hurriedly pacing under the tree I had occupied, and Sakura was sleeping nearby, sprawled on the grass warm from the baking sun. Idyllic, nothing to say. So time went on and on and on. Gradually, I began to get unbalanced by the Uchiha constantly flickering somewhere under my feet, and I calmly decided to scare him. Anyway, there was nothing to do before Kakashi arrived. If you want to walk so much, run to the hidden cloud, it's not far. Moreover, you've already walked around all the countries 20 times. Sasuke frowned and wanted to say something definitely not very smart, but I beat him to it. Sit down and calm down, I shouted, making the most terrible expression on my face from my meager arsenal. To my surprise, the black-haired outlaw, without changing his gloomy face, sat down quite peacefully under the tree and closed his eyes. I decided to read a little, and since I was in a rather bad mood, with a nasty grin I took out a book with the immodest title, a collection of all known swear words and constructions, also written by Hidan and supplemented by my humble person. Along with the book, I accidentally grabbed a pocket watch, the origin of which I would rather forever remain a terrible secret. My eyes widened in surprise and irritation, and the swear words I had recently acquired after dropping an iron on my foot were bursting out of my mouth. It's already fucking 11 o'clock. Where the hell is that goat Hataki? That's it, I'm fed up. I jumped off the branch, and, having made a couple of seals, disappeared into a small red haze. This, by the way, is a cheating technique of movement authored by one occultist with a sick head. I suddenly appeared in front of the entrance to the teacher's house, almost crashing into the front door, but wisely decided that it would be better to enter through the other entrance. Therefore, unnoticed, I jumped onto the ledge and looked inside. And an interesting picture appeared before me, which struck my rich imagination. Kakashi, with a clear blush on his cheeks, which was already too strange, was holding a thin green book in his hands. As far as I could see, something like, "Come, come paradise," was written on it. Well, that's nonsense, but nevertheless, he was deeply absorbed in it and would not notice the catch. And this means that insidious plans were being designed in my head at triple the speed. Aha, so we're reading a book, I muttered with a sly smile, wondering which of the many plans to choose. Having decided, I folded the seal of shadow cloning. In the white haze with a characteristic quiet pop, the silhouette of the second me appeared. Only the clone was a little different from everyone else's. It was a beautiful brunette girl with 2 ponytails, whose appearance I came up with myself, which I am proud of. She quietly opened the window and slipped into the unsuspecting Hataki's room. Having calculated all the maneuvers, the girl decided, with my order of course, but decided what she would do. Suddenly, even for me, she darted towards him, and snatched the book from the sensei's hands with a sarcastic voice saying the words, "If you want to take it, shoot it to the 7th polygon." Having finished, the brunette disappeared in a white haze, having first quietly handed me the treasured manuscript. Following my clone, I myself disappeared, but this time in a reddish cloud of smoke from the transport technology. I appeared on the training ground in a second, with an indecently pleased, sarcastic face. Kurama's laughter roared in my head louder than fireworks, which spoiled the impression a little. And still did the nasty thing, my heart is happy. Because no way. However, noticing 2 surprised looks on me, I hurried to warn the people. Guys, our sensei will be here soon, cover your ears. With these words I took out my pocket watch and began counting out loud, barely holding back the laughter bursting out. In 3, 2, 1, launch. And just at that very moment, an out of breath and angry Kakashi ran to the training ground. Having caught his breath a little, he shouted, "Where's my book?" My teammates reacted to such a cry. For example, Sasuke, who even after my words was still peacefully lying on a branch and looking at the clouds, fell to the ground with a crash. "Calm down, Kakashi-sensei, here is your perverted book. But next time I won't give it to you so easily," I answered as if nothing had happened, grinning victoriously inside and celebrating my successful trick. What a good boy I am. "Oh, you," he roughly snatched it from my hands with this exclamation, but having caught the mood of my comrades in misfortune, I mean the team, he immediately fell silent, because he remembered what time it was, and probably remembered his own tardiness. "Okay, sorry, guys, for making you wait. Let's start training." He cheerfully clapped his hands and headed towards the 3 training posts in the middle of the training ground, which, as it seemed to me, were not there before. Well, to hell with them. So, taking 2 bells out of his pocket, Hataki jingled them a couple of times, and then continued, "You must take these bells from me. There are only 2 of them here, so one of you will go to the academy in any case. You have 2 hours. Let's start." Having shouted this, he disappeared in a small hurricane of leaves. It's fine, Uchiha drawled, surprisingly commenting on the situation, neither here nor goodbye. Well, screw it, I waved my hand, thinking and finally deciding on a further plan for capturing the training target, but I have a couple of ideas about the bells. Go ahead, said the little cat, trying to look disinterested. However, no matter how much a person, especially considering the heightened hysteria of this particular individual, tried to hide his curiosity, it was sticking out of every hole. In order to ensure that no one goes back to the academy, we need to work as a team. I think that even if we fail to get the bells, if we work as a team, we will still pass the test. Do you agree? They nodded at the same time, apparently not really understanding what I said. I have a plan. Listen carefully. Having finished the brief description of the brilliant plan, I decided to listen to the humble opinion of my comrades. Any questions? Yes. Are you all right in the head? Asked the little pussy, surprised. I just grinned, realizing that he was right in some ways. And although I won't reveal my abilities completely, I'll still reveal my cards a little, which is dangerous in my situation. But life is boring without risk. What is it? I blinked innocently, trying to show the sincerity of my misunderstanding. It seemed to work. What do you mean? Do you even have any idea? How can you redirect shurikens from such a long distance? I've already thought of many options, sweetie, and how do you know that I use the element of fire? But this question is strange to hear from him. Sometimes he completely forgets that we live in the same house. Well, and so do I, actually. You will find out the answer to the first question yourself, and as for the elements. I saw how Fugaku-san trained you. Okay, I understand, Uchiha said sadly. Apparently, it really is very difficult for him to remember his father and family in general, then we will act according to your plan. Sakura, do you remember your part? I turned to the pink-haired girl, to which she expectantly blushed. Yes, the girl nodded. We all stood up together and were about to disperse, when shurikens and kunai flew at us from all sides. Without hesitation, I stretched out both hands to the sides, and without making seals, I said the name of the technique. Metal element, I said this very quietly so that my teammates wouldn't hear, otherwise kami forbid, obito would be the end of me, reverse magnetic field. With these words, the air around my hands vibrated, and all the throwing weapons that had been launched at us turned around and flew in the opposite direction, threatening now not us, but the sender. In other words, Kakashi was in complete ass. He, of course, quickly got his bearings, so he simply dodged some of the iron, and deflected the rest with his kunai. But while he was doing this, we managed to escape. And his performance looked quite beautiful, that's the skill of a Junin. At the moment, I was sitting in the bushes with Sasuke, waiting for the moment to carry out our plan. And Sakura was preparing to attack at my signal. Sensei only now noticed our disappearance, and, having caught his breath, began to look around. Everything was going as well as possible, we had plenty of time left for the planned maneuvers, and in extreme cases, for retreat. Uchiha, are you ready? I asked the black-haired man quietly. Receiving an approving nod, I gave a signal to Haruno, then let's begin. Sakura jumped up and quickly approached Hatake, entering into close combat, attacking directly in the forehead, which was of course not very good for a shinobi, but I think she will learn a normal attack later. However, to her surprise, she is certainly good at taijutsu, but she does not reach the level of our teacher yet. In principle, this is not important now. While the pink-haired girl selflessly distracted Kakashi, Sasuke jumped out of the bushes, and, having folded seals, said the name of the technique. Fire element. Big fireball. A big flame in the shape of the technique's name burst out of the brunette's mouth, which is quite logical, but I personally have a lot of questions about this technique. Later. All this is also a kind of conventional sign. My turn. I moved behind Sasuke, and, taking aim, threw about a dozen shurikens with all my might through the fire aimed straight at Sakura and Kakashi, which was undoubtedly part of my brilliant plan. By the way, when Uchiha used his useless ball technique that was incomprehensible to me, Hatake, as expected, managed to jump back, and Haruno fell under the flames. So, I hope, our sensei thought, at least according to the plan. I was counting on, and was right, that he, like me at first, underestimated the pink-haired girl too much. When Sasuke had just started to fold the seals, the smart girl had already put a log in her place. It is clear what happened next. Distracted by Haruno, Kakashi almost didn't notice my shurikens. He was about to deflect them when I raised one hand up and said that name. Metal element, reverse attraction. All weapons abruptly changed course and stuck into the ground, except for one. No one noticed how one of the irons cut the strings of the bells by the roots, and all I could do was pick them up, which I did. Having quickly folded a couple of seals, I moved straight to Hataki, and, grabbing the bells, rushed back into the forest. There, at the agreed place, Sasuke and Sakura were already waiting for me. Seeing my satisfied face, they looked at each other and came up to me. Good plan, but I don't understand how you managed to repel that attack of Sensei. Uchiha asked, trying to hide a satisfied smile behind a gloomy mask of indifference. But I can see it. Although, before he communicated even more closed, but we have been living together for quite a long time, and no, don't make things up, we just live. In general, I was able to teach him to talk normally. I'll explain now, but first, I grinned promisingly, pretending that I was going to tell them everything later, and threw each of them a bell, here, and we'll go report. Oh, what faces they have. Just please don't lecture me on morality and duty here. Everything is going according to plan. You're definitely not all there. I know, sweetie, I know, and I'm not ashamed of it. It's very useful, you can always say that I'm crazy, and crazy people can do anything. He came up with the plan himself, helped to implement it, and gave us all the reward, Uchiha said indignantly, no longer trying to hide his emotions. I told you, hysterical. She can't understand at all when control is needed, and when she can let herself go. Yes, Menma-kun, that's not right, well, that's probably too much. Sakura, my dear, I admire her, that little pussy would never have thought of sacrificing herself, and she wouldn't even have realized that it was all a show. I have to go back to the academy, because without you two I would never have passed. I agree, but you're no actress, girl. Come on, guys, I doubt I could have done it alone. If this wasn't a performance, my dear teammates would have definitely rolled their eyes to the sky. But they just made pain faces, just like me when I get out of bed in the morning. Makoto-san used to make breakfast for us, but now I have to, because there is something that Sasuke does, pure masochism. Suddenly, right in front of us, in a hurricane, Kakashi appeared. Excellent, we were waiting for you. He, meanwhile, surprising me, smiling with his eye, I don't know how, said loudly. You all passed, he said so cheerfully, as if it was not us, but our sensei who passed the exam. Well, nevertheless, I knew it. That was the whole point. See how smart I am. How did this all happen? The amazed Sasuke and the pleased Sakura asked in unison. That's it, the white-haired man answered, parodying their tone. The main goal of this training was to test the abilities in teamwork, which is also the main priority for the shinobi of Konoha. Bells are a landmark, and you are actually the first to go through this entire training. You took the bells from me, and worked great as a team. I would have snorted, expressing doubts, but I did not want to spoil our little concert. So, no one will go back to the academy? Haruno asked, literally not believing it. I'm telling you, she's not much of an actress, but her intelligence is amazing. That's right, the teacher answered, completely unaware of her knowledge, and I'd like to clarify. There's no doubt that you were acting according to a certain plan. Whose was it? Those are the real questions. He was scared by my techniques. Menmi, the other Uchiha answered briefly but clearly. I didn't even bother. That's what I thought. And who didn't get a bell? What I don't understand is why such questions. He saw all our machinations, and heard the conversation. What's the point? To me, who else? I said with a grin, watching his reaction closely. However, he barely showed his surprise. I see, Kakashi said, almost without a hint of emotion, and now you, Menma, as the developer of this plan, will briefly retell it to me, which was what needed to be proven. He really couldn't figure out our plan because of me and my techniques. Oh, holy Rinnegan, I cursed dramatically. In short, Sakura distracted you with taijutsu, Sasuke used fire to hide my shurikens and so that Haruno had time to get out of my line of attack. And I threw various iron objects at you, and one shuriken cut the strings from the bells. It wasn't hard to pick them up. So simple, but now he is truly surprised, and it is not because of my techniques. He probably realized that he did something that a shinobi should never do. It turns out that I simply underestimated you, that's what I'm talking about. I hope he learns the right lesson from this. That's right, I agreed, allowing myself to grin. Uchiha, I thought you had another question. Although I know perfectly well what you wanted to ask, sweetie. Damn, it stuck. Oh yeah, he apparently mentally hit himself on the forehead. How did you repel the kunai attack without using a single technique? Expected, and stupid on my part, but what can you do now? What's done can't be undone. It's simple, it's a special ability I received in childhood. Something like an improved genome. Give me 4 kunai and 1 shuriken, I'll show them a trick. Sakura took a weapon out of her pouch and gave it to me. Look, I raised my hand up, although it was not necessary, and the pieces of iron, as if tied with a fishing line, hung in the air. With a wave of my hand, they merged into one large piece of metal, and this metal reformed into a large shuriken, which was now hovering in the air. Holy shit, Uchiha expressed the general opinion, not very politely, but very clearly. An improved genome of metal. Hitaki raised his voice, his head apparently chaotically trying to process the information he had received. Absolutely right, I nodded, satisfied with the effect produced. Unbelievable, so that's what this metal element is. And I already thought that I misheard, Sasuke chuckled, thinking. Did you hear? Well, now it's my turn to be surprised. Pussy, you're just like Cheburashka, big-eared and attentive. Well, yes, he nodded briefly, apparently not intending to give any explanation in return. Okay, guys, Hitaki interrupted us, I need to go see the Hokage, and you go home and rest. Tomorrow is the first mission, I'll explain the details in the morning. Having said this, he quickly disappeared. My teammates looked at him with displeasure, exchanged glances, apparently finding mutual understanding, and simultaneously turned to me. I didn't understand now, are they waiting for orders from me? Guys, let's go to a restaurant. I suggested. No problem, I'm always ready to give orders. At least we'll eat, at your expense of course. Let's go. Sakura agreed with a smile, not yet suspecting what evil I had planned. I'm with you. I'm hungry. Uchiha licked his lips. Oh yes, sweetie, cakes, tomatoes and rice are waiting. But all for your money. Chapter 5. Mission Rank, S. Naruto's POV. A little over 3 months have passed since that training. We spent time training constantly, and I even began to enjoy the company of my teammates. But not too much, otherwise my Akatsuki would be offended. Like, I traded them for some shinobi. But that won't happen. I'm not very happy with the overall level of development of the Konoha ninja and their mental balance. For example, the Hokage, damn him, apparently took offense at us, and, point blank ignoring our progress, gave us missions no higher than rank D, which irritated our entire team. During this time, we trained our teamwork surprisingly well. Each of us, under the sensitive guidance, in quotes of course, of the sensei, learned quite a lot of elemental techniques. For example, Sakura was able to quickly master several earth techniques. Sasuke, in addition to a significant improvement in fire techniques, already managed the element of lightning perfectly, although he was far from being a real master. As for me, in addition to metal, I now perfectly mastered the wind, to which I discovered a hereditary predisposition. This is from my father, I think, but I was able to learn this element so easily due to my filigree control of chakra. In addition, Kakashi came in handy here with his stolen techniques. But, as I said, we didn't get any normal missions, so the ones we were given were done quickly and effortlessly, and it was damn boring. We wanted to have some fun, but we couldn't sneak off and hang out with the newkenin we knew. And right now my team and I have just come to report on the completion of another mission to catch an unfortunate cat. I am exhausted, so tired of this waste of time. Hokage-sama, the mission is accomplished, I reported. Minato nodded and then said. You're moving fast. Your track record already includes over 100 D-rank missions, while others don't even have 30. Namikaze was deep in thought. Did he get enough sleep? Otherwise, how could he finally notice the untapped potential? I frowned a little, waiting for further action, expecting a refusal in advance. Okay, I think it's time. Team 7, I'm assigning you a C-rank mission. My comrades, especially Sakura, had their jaws crashing to the floor. Of course, we waited a long time. What took so long for the Rinnegan? I just chuckled contentedly. Finally, it dawned on my dad that our team would be a bit stronger than the others. Otherwise, it felt like there was simply no one to carry out pointless tasks, so they sent newbies. Thank you, Minato Dono. I said cheerfully. I almost called him daddy, but it would have been funny to see his expression. And what is the mission? You will need to escort the architect back to his village in the land of waves, he answered with some doubt. Hey, try to change your mind, Tazuna-san, please come in. The Hokage called. The door swung open with a bang, and a man of about 50, who reeked of booze, stumbled in. Sakura and Kakashi winced at the same time. I was wary, focusing on the details. This man was most likely not just an architect designer, but also a worker, and why he needed an escort was yet to be determined. And these brats will accompany me, Tazuna said rudely. Oh, I feel that if Sakura is not tamed, he will not reach home alive, especially this pink-haired one. She is still a little girl. And what am I saying? You are a kamikaze, Grandpa, and I will not protect you from her if anything happens. I was hoping for more professional shinobi, since this village is considered one of the strongest. Namikaze and Hitaki sighed resignedly, estimating the scale of the tragedy. Uchiha rolled his eyes and winced, and Haruno was barely holding back from finishing off the architect before the village chief and our sensei. They were on edge themselves. I decided to defuse the situation. Tazuna-san, since this is a C rank mission, then according to the rules of our village, our level of training is enough for it. You won't be attacked by elite shinobi, so you don't have to worry, I said calmly. Suddenly I noticed that our customer became very tense at my words. And precisely at the time when I was talking about attacks. Oh, I feel something is fishy here. Okay, I agree, you convinced me, Tazuna nodded nervously. He had given in too quickly, given his ardor. There was definitely something wrong with him. Guys, Kakashi said, turning to us, before that he nodded approvingly to me for the correct conduct of the dialogue with the inadequate, meet me in an hour at the main gate. We nodded and left the office. An hour and a half later, knowing from experience, I came to the gate. Sensei was not there yet, which is not surprising. Our client had not shown up yet either. It seems they found each other. Sasuke and Sakura were already here, and I could feel the oppressive atmosphere from afar. As soon as they noticed that I was approaching the village exit, they immediately pounced on me like dogs on a piece of meat. Why the hell are you late? Uchiha exclaimed. Did you catch it from Sensei? And there's no need to scream like that, sweetie. My ears are ringing from you. You're just like a hysterical lady. Don, t.shout.in.my.ear. I said, emphasizing each word, Kakashi hasn't arrived yet anyway, and I wanted to talk to you, Uchiha. He made a terribly surprised face, but still nodded. We moved away from Haruno, after which he asked. So, what did you want to talk about? He crossed his arms over his chest and leaned against the trunk of a tree growing nearby. It was like an oil painting. I have some suspicions about this Tazuna. I began quietly, trying to make my voice as ominous as possible. I think he's not telling me something. What makes you think that? Sasuke asked in surprise, raising a thin eyebrow and starting to recall all the details in his head. How do I know? He has a habit of fiddling with his chin when he remembers something. When I told him about the attack of elite shinobi and the mission rank, he became noticeably nervous, even sweating, remember? He nodded, apparently remembering all the details. So, I'm almost certain that he expects an attack from other shinobi, which will be unavoidable, so we need to be on guard. And don't tell anyone, it will be better. It's all clear with Sakura. Why not warn Kakashi? It's not that he didn't understand, but he sometimes zealously observed certain norms of decency, and completely out of place. I just sighed. Do you want to dig gardens and catch cats again? Uchiha nervously chuckled and shook his head. Neither do I, and if we say that this mission is taken away from us, and we are faced with a joyless existence in the world of D-rank missions. That's it, let's go, our unpunctual sensei and the customer have appeared. Yeah, he nodded in agreement, acknowledging that I was right. We walked in silence the entire way. Only occasionally Tazuna managed to provoke Haruno with a caustic comment, and Sasuke and I had to hold her back by force. Which wasn't very successful, since, surprisingly, she didn't have the fragility of a girl, but a strong hand that could easily break a tree. I wouldn't want to end up in the unfortunate tree's place, so I tried to calm her down as gently as possible. In the evening we stopped at a clearing and set up a small camp there to spend the night. Since there were only 3 tents, and Kakashi said that he would be on duty, we had to share sleeping places. Naturally, Tazuna took one tent for himself, I took one too, but mine was a 2-person tent. But Sasuke was unlucky. He had 2 options, either with Haruno, or outside. Well, the choice is yours, I said cheerfully. Now we were sitting together by the fire. Everyone had already gone to bed, and Hitaki was wandering God knows where. Oh, Kami-sama, why is this happening to me? The Uchiha howled. And then an idea came to my mind, which I stubbornly tried to reject, but the feeling of compassion did not allow it. Pussy, you are Cheburashka, aren't you? You can do as a soft toy. Listen, don't kick in your sleep, I'm an awfully kind person today. He looked at me for a minute, then answered. Nope, he shook his head. Are you thinking the same thing as me? I smiled slyly. For just a moment there was confusion in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by the same sly smile on his lips. Not the best option, of course. But you're better than Haruno. We looked at each other and burst out laughing. Well, yes, I agree, I replied, catching my breath. Fuck. What kind of perverted thoughts are these? Get out of here. Kurama. Where's my brain broom? We sat by the fire for another 5 minutes, and then, having put out the flame, headed towards the tent. I climbed in first. I took a blanket and put it between 2 sleeping bags, just in case. You never know. Afterwards I climbed into my bag and wrapped myself up warmer. Sasuke did about the same. Without noticing it, I quickly fell asleep. Dreams passed me by today. In the morning I woke up first. Kakashi had already disappeared somewhere. Curiosity struck me. I remembered that he read this little book all the time, and I became terribly interested in what it was about. As I thought, Hitaki, instead of being on duty, lay down on a tree branch to sleep. I created a clone and turned it into that same brunette with 2 tails. She came up and stood under the sensei. After that, Mina, that's the clone's name, quickly jumped up to the white-haired man and with a light movement pulled out a green book. After which the black-haired girl gave it to me. I opened the book to the first page and, to put it mildly, was shocked. I read only 2 pages. Of course it's too early for me to read something like this, but, strange as it may seem to me, I liked it. But then, damn it, I read to the descriptions of the actions. My young brain simply couldn't withstand such pressure. And I screamed throughout the entire forest. Fuck. Kakashi. Fucking pervert. And threw the book, plus 18 inches right into Hitaki's nose. This woke everyone up at once. Sakura, Sasuke and even Tozuna came running at the noise. Sensei barely managed to dodge the launched projectile and also jumped up to me. Why are you yelling? Uchiha asked first. It's only 6 in the morning. I barely calmed down, and only then answered. Oh, well, nothing. I looked away from my friend. And then I added, and now it's already 8, phew. Menma, are you nuts? Phew, just a little bit more. Is that true? Sasuke said, uncomprehending. Kakashi-sensei, it's time for us to move, I said seriously. Cough cough, he cleared his throat. Yes, that's right, we need to go. We were now walking calmly along the sand-colored road. Everything was absolutely calm. I noticed a strange phenomenon on the road, a puddle. It hadn't rained for a week, which meant that someone was hiding here. Standard tactics. But it will only work on a weak genin. And I thought that Uchiha should have noticed. Listen, has it been raining for a long time? I asked, glancing sideways at the puddle. 4 days, maybe even a week ago, Hitaki answered. I spread my arms in the direction of the strange phenomenon. Sensei and Sasuke looked carefully first at the water, then at me, and then nodded in agreement. When we had moved away far enough for the enemy to be sure that we had not noticed him, the puddle immediately took on the shape of a person. He immediately threw some chain with a load at us, and it quickly wrapped around Hitaki. But he managed to put in a replacement in time. A second one jumped out of the neighboring trees in an instant and, armed with a long sword, rushed straight at the architect. Sakura appeared in his path. But she wouldn't be able to hold the line, so Sasuke stopped his sword with a kunai. The second one, who appeared from the puddle, also took out his sword, only his was wider. He rushed into battle and wanted to cut the Uchiha, but I used my element in time. Element of metal. Magnet. I said quietly. Element of metal. 2 katanas. His sword flew straight at me, reforming into 2 medium-sized katanas in midair, and grabbing them, I rushed straight towards the water one. With light and simple movements I cut him crosswise in the chest area. The wound was surprisingly deep and even fatal. Look, Sensei didn't lie. In close combat, it's very convenient to use the wind element. I soaked my swords with it, so they became sharper. It was a convenient element. I got distracted. Sasuke was currently playing a game of who runs faster with his rival. The brunette had to run around Sakura and Tozuna all the time so that they wouldn't get hit by the enemy's sword. Uchiha was already noticeably exhausted, but he couldn't hit the enemy with a kunai. Then an interesting thought came to my mind. I took one of the swords with a reverse grip, and threw the second one at Sasuke with all my might, shouting. Uchiha, catch. He didn't screw up and easily caught the katana. With it, even without much kenjutsu, it was easy to parry blows. But the black-haired man still couldn't hook his opponent. I'm so sick of this. I decided to help a little. Well, how to help? Sasuke can't kill, so he can't hurt either. I slightly reshaped my sword, giving it sharp protrusions. I infused it with wind chakra, and rushed forward, easily cutting through the enemy. True, not completely, after all, Sasuke is here too, but he simply inflicted a deep, fatal wound. By the way, there were sheaths left there that matched my new ninnik. There were 2 of them, and I happened to have 2 katanas. I took them and fastened the new pieces of iron crosswise behind my back. Right next to the shinobi corpses, and it was them, the missing nin at that Kakashi appeared and checked the pulse. His eyes widened in surprise when he realized that they were both dead. Sasuke, Sakura, and a still shocked Tazuna also approached the undead. Are they dead? Uchiha asked in surprise. Sentimental little thing. Yes, both, Hitaki answered, still not believing it, looking sideways at me. Who killed them? I didn't have time to see. Haruno asked curiously. No, that's right, a stern Konoha lady. The first one, the one that appeared from the water, was definitely killed by Menma. I managed to notice that, Kakashi answered. It's strange, when I rushed in to attack the second time, the speed wasn't that great. Is this the same technique my dad uses? But 4 surprised glances were fixed on me, which distracted me from my thoughts. And the second one, the one who crawled out of the bushes. Who killed him then? Also, I said calmly. Sasuke, Tazuna, and Sakura's jaws would probably have reached the center of the earth if they hadn't been interrupted by the ash-haired Junin's voice. And you talk about it so calmly. He raised an eyebrow questioningly. I wonder if this is the same Hitaki Kakashi that Tobi-kun was talking about. The one who killed his teammate who loved him. Maybe he has a double. What's wrong with that? We're shinobi, not little kids. I spread my hands. But now we have a more serious question. Maybe you could explain, Tazuna-san. I turned to the old man. Well, okay. Let's start with the fact that I deliberately lowered the rank of the mission, since our country has no funds at all to pay. And it's all because of this Gato. He seized power in the wave country, and now all the people are living in hunger. The only thing that can save the country is a bridge, and I'm heading to the village to build it. But Gato hired missing nin to kill me. That's how it is. When he finished, Sakura even shed a tear. Do you know that this mission is now at least a B rank, if not an A? I began calmly. And we have every right to send it to hell. Menma-kun, you can't do this. The fate of the entire country depends on us. Haruno stood up for the architect. My god, have shinobi really become so soft and naive now? Where is this country heading? I just asked if he knew about it, nothing more, I said in the same calm voice. I would like to continue this task. But more for show, the fate of the country is of no concern to me. Hitaki looked at me in surprise, then said. Well, Sasuke, do you agree to continue the mission? Yes, such a tick wouldn't hurt me either, Uchiha answered coldly. Don't copy me, sweetie, it will come back to bite you. I have many enemies. Then, if everyone agrees, we will continue our journey. Everyone nodded, and we went on, but took the corpses of the defeated with us. I didn't even expect this from the Uchiha. To carry out a mission on which the fate of the country depends, just for show. Unexpected. Hitaki thought about his black-haired students, especially Menma. Chapter 6. Old Acquaintances. We slowly moved along the medium-wide road. Everyone looked detached. The guys, apparently, had not yet recovered from the fact that I had finished off 2 Nukenin. And it was terribly strange, I still had not come to understand what, exactly, was wrong. I wonder, do they even understand who shinobi are? How did they decide to become them? After all, our duty is not only to be physically strong, but also mentally. To be able to control ourselves and make difficult choices, sometimes not very pleasant ones. And imagine, if Madara hadn't taken me then, I would have become the same. I wouldn't be able to control myself, and I would feel sorry for the enemy who wants to finish you off. Fuck. God forgive me. Well, I digress. We reached the border with the land of waves without incident. My comrades decided that they could relax. But it was not to be. In short, I'm walking along calmly, not bothering anyone, and then a huge sword flies right over my head and sticks into a tree growing nearby. What the hell? I cursed, dodging the colossus and taking a fighting stance. I looked up at the piece of iron stuck in the tree, and immediately a man landed on it. A crossed-out hidden mist protector, a huge pumped-up body, a bandaged face. It can't be, I said in surprise, recognizing an old acquaintance, Momochi. Zabuza. Menma. Kakashi turned to me, how do you know him? He was very excited. What did you say? The swordsman spoke, Frowning, Menma. Uchiha Menma. What the hell are you doing here? I exclaimed, recalling the story of how we met. Flashback. About 2 years ago. Obito and I were heading to the rice fields country in another attempt to find information about the snake Orochimaru. Even as a resident of Konoha, I couldn't resist the pleasure of hanging out on some dubious missions from Akatsuki. True, I never understood why Orochimaru displeased Madara so much. Well, whatever. We walked for a long time. Almost 2 days. And it was also hot. I really wanted to cool off. And then, for no apparent reason, a decent amount of water poured out on our heads. Spitting out, I began to look for the source of this unexpected shower with a swear word, and found it. 2 shinobi, with a decent, it must be said, reserve of chakra, selflessly hit each other with various techniques. This, apparently, came from them. I noticed one of them was using something that looked like ice. So he has an enhanced genome too. Cool. Excuse me, Obito began discontentedly, could you please not throw water balloons? There are people walking around here, Tobi-kun is as usual in his repertoire. How lovely. Sorry, we're just training. The second shinobi answered. He was much larger than the first, his face was bandaged. Zabuza-san, I think that's enough for today, said the younger-looking one. His beautiful ice techniques had not yet melted, and intricate sculptures were visible everywhere. Damn, I want another enhanced genome. Preferably like this. Yes, Haku, the big guy answered. Apparently they were quite close, his tone was much warmer. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist. Obito asked even more sullenly. Demon, I asked again, not grasping the meaning of such a name. Yes, it's me, Momochi answered calmly, without even raising an eyebrow, interesting. You don't look like a demon at all. Listen, Haku, right, do you have an enhanced ice genome? I drawled in surprise, making cute, inquisitive eyes. I can do that too, yes. Live with these Nukenin, and you'll learn to do even more. No vulgarity, because I know you. Exactly, it seems to work flawlessly even on strangers, why do you ask? And he is quite friendly, although you can feel the aura of a killer. I approve. I want to too, I said capriciously, counting on some privileges from Obito. Menma, you already have a pretty good enhanced genome, don't be so impudent, I just snorted at that. No matter, there will be more. Come on, I'm greed itself. I want more. What kind? Haku asked, looking me over carefully from head to toe. I hope I've piqued his interest. In this, I want to show a trick. I put out my right hand, and a huge sword was magnetized to it, cutting through the wind. What the hell is this? I screamed, dodging the rushing colossus. Is this a metal genome? Zabuza said in a rather surprised tone. What kind of sword is this? I asked, still in shock. This is one of the 7 legendary swords, Decapitator. Oh my, does that mean he is the 7 swordsman of the mist? Menma, we don't have time, let's leave, Obito intervened. Bye. By the way, I am Uchiha Menma. I shouted goodbye. End of flashback. Same question, Momochi shouted back. I forgot that Sasuke, Sakura and Tozuna are standing behind me. They don't even know what's going on. I'm on a mission, Zabuza. But what the hell you're doing here is a mystery to me. No, I can guess, of course, but it's just a guess. Don't pretend, you probably already understood why we are here. So it's better not to get in my way. I'm almost certain that you will defeat me, because there is an incomprehensible force inside you that is bursting to get out. I didn't understand what he was talking about, and therefore I don't want to enter into a fight with you. What? Hitaki said in bewilderment, having been watching our dialogue the whole time. What did you hear? Zabuza answered in the same tone. It's a pity Momochi that Haku didn't come with you. He should have gotten stronger, I would have liked to fight him. I said sadly. Who is your target? Architect Tazuna from the Land of Waves, the swordsman replied. I knew it. Damn, I don't want to kill you. Maybe it's better. Let's come to an agreement. What a face. And everyone's. And if Zabuza is simply surprised that I'm ready to cooperate, then Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke and Tozuna are simply out of it. Menma, what the hell are you doing? Uchiha exploded. How do you know him? Why don't you want to kill him? And why did you think you could do it? That's it, they drove the red-eyed one crazy. Come on, sweetie, don't be nervous. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Breathe deeper. Fuck, I'm going down the wrong path. In order, please, I drawled, incinerated by the brunette's gaze. Where I know him from is of no importance. I don't want to kill him, because overall he's a good guy, and also a strong shinobi. I'll answer the last question later, I said calmly. Uchiha stared at me with his red eyes. In fact, I'm not entirely sure that I'll be able to defeat the 7 swordsmen of the mist so easily. It's one thing for weak Nukenin who simply underestimated me, and another for an experienced renegade ninja, and also a master of silent killing. They say it right, you can't underestimate your opponent. I've never had that habit. Unlike Sasuke. Well, I've chatted too much. Unfortunately, I'll have to fight him a bit. Zabuza, it seems we are destined to fight here after all, although I am not thrilled, I said with a sad expression on my face. Menma, you can't beat him. If you know who he is, then you should understand. Kakashi shouted. I didn't pay any attention to him. I grabbed my new katanas from their sheaths and rushed forward. The swordsman, unfortunately, or fortunately, managed to react and put up the decapitator to defend himself. Good reaction, I muttered. Listen, Momochi, I didn't want to kill you, so I wanted to offer a deal, I whispered. What's the deal? The Nukenin asked in the same tone. I need information about a certain well-known organization. Akatsuki, I replied. Akatsuki? Zabuza asked, surprised. Exactly. About all its members, as well as what goals they pursue, I jumped back and got into a fighting stance. The swordsman did the same. Okay, but what do I get in return? He grinned. Then he made the seals and a huge wave of water rushed towards me. I didn't remain in debt, and also folded the seals, only instead of water, a simply enormous wall of wind rushed towards the swordsman. All the water was blown away, and the wind continued to move and caused Zabuza some minor damage. Life, I said quietly, so that only my opponent could hear. I won't kill you. I'm overestimating myself a little, but I hope it will work. Momochi thought. And my teammates, it turns out, weren't standing aside either. Kakashi and Sasuke rushed to attack the swordsman, and Sakura stayed to guard the architect. Hitaki folded the seals and said, Water element, large water dragon, and this colossus rushed at the Nukenin. He managed to react in time, and jumping to the side, shouted. Okay, I agree, Uchiha. He said to me, in a month, we'll meet on the bridge. Having said this, he disappeared. Phew, it's a blast. Everything was covered in fog, blocking even my view. I had to activate my Sharingan. Honestly, it didn't help much, but at least I'll have time to dodge Haku's attacks. Yeah, I noticed him as soon as Momochi showed up. He was watching us the whole time. I don't know if the Ice One, as I called him, is going to attack me, but it wouldn't hurt to be careful. He is a pretty serious opponent after all. But it seems they have retreated. I can no longer sense the presence of either of them. Well, that's for the best. That's it, I'm sick of this fog. Element of wind, whirlwind, I said, folding the seals. A small whirlwind broke loose and instantly dispersed all the fog. That's better. Yeah, they really did leave. I wonder what my dear comrades will tell me now. Will they kill me? Or just yell at me? Or maybe. Damn it, they won't do anything. At least until they remember. The thing is, there was an exploded smoke bomb lying near them, by the way, unconscious. It contained gas, but not paralyzing, just knocking out consciousness. I read about it. It has special side effects, in the form of temporary memory loss. True, not completely, but only 40 to 50 minutes out of your entire life. I think I'm lucky, I said, standing over the unconscious bodies of my teammates and the architect. Chapter 7. Kuroi Taiyo, Guardians of the Black Sun. What stupid teammates and this old man. By the time you get them all into their tents, you'll be as tired as if you'd been training for 5 hours. You need to eat less, those poor idiots. I hope they don't wake up anytime soon. I decided to take a nap on a tree next to the tents I had just set up, where these little people were fast asleep. Lately I've been thinking a lot about what would have happened if things hadn't happened that way that day. Perhaps I would have become an ardent patriot of the village, would have been fair-haired and blue-eyed. A sweet cutie, whom everyone loves and considers a friend. Sometimes, when I was alone, I would have been sad about my mother. After all, from what my father said, I would have understood that Kushina was a kind and cheerful person. I would have also understood who I am so impulsive and unrestrained after. I don't argue, it's good to have parents, but not in the shinobi world. Yes, it's one thing to live in a small village in a peaceful country, have your own small house, and live there with your mom, dad and other loved ones. But it's another matter to live on the territory of a military country, and such a strong and dangerous one at that. The Fire Country has countless enemies. Living knowing that every day could be your last. walking hand in hand with death every day. That's how shinobi live. But I didn't live like that. I grew up among the missing nin, and I became the same. I have no shortage of heartlessness, and that's why at 10 years old I am equal in strength to a very strong Junin, thanks to Madara for that. I learned a lot from the founder of Konoha, and I'm not sure I would have become like this if the Uchiha had left me in this village. There's a 90% chance that I would have been bullied like crazy, even with my bloodline. I would have grown up trying to prove to my village that I wasn't a monster, but a person with a bad fate. I would have probably wanted the title of Hokage. I'm sure of it. Well, let's not talk about such sad things. When I see Madara-san's grave, I'll thank him and buy him some flowers. And rice and cakes. What did you think? He infected me. Lost in thought, I almost missed the moment when over 100 kunai with explosive seals flew at me. Having moved to a safe distance, I mentally praised myself for being overly vigilant and for having bothered to put up a barrier on the tents. Well, you never know. I told you, I'm still paranoid. Copulation of fallen women. I couldn't resist. Because of these bitches my pant leg got dirty. I'll kill you. Are you Uchiha Menma, the steel ninja? Wait, how do you know? I can't see their faces mainly because of their hoods, and then there's that damn smoke. So, think, Menma, who could it be? I was only called that in the underworld of shinobi when I was doing odd missions and needed to hide my name. But shinobi know me either this way or that way. Only a few people know both of my names. Madara, Obito, some of the Akatsuki organization and... What do you want? This is bad. Very, very bad. No shinobi, not even the current cage of Konoha, using all his chakra reserves, will be able to do anything to these people. Madara-san told me a lot about them before he died. Flashback. A week after the bloody massacre of the Uchiha clan. I was returning from the academy, and I felt a strange chakra on the outskirts, similar to some kind of signal fire. When I got to the place where the thing was, I found a message left, apparently by Obito. It was short and clear. Just in Tobi-kun's style. Go to base, that's what it said there. It would seem that everything is simple. You just need to go to the base, and there will be something there. I hope this isn't a surprise. I hate surprises. But it's not even about surprises, it's about the fact that there are a lot of bases. No, that's not true, there are a lot of them. They are in all 5 great countries, and not just one. And there are bases in smaller countries too. And which one wonders, should I go to? I have one version, but I'm not completely sure. Moreover, Tobi-kun is not a fool to encrypt the base number in such a way. Although, by my count, this is base number 7. The most FK'd up of all the 200. Why is it so bad? Because it's 15 floors underground. It's as old as the world, and the ceilings there are cracking, God forbid. And the entrance is so camouflaged that Orochimaru nervously smokes on the sidelines. Although, compared to the others, it is significantly closer. About 5 kilometers from the village gates. Okay, I guess I'll go there. I wish I could remember where the entrance was. The last time I was there was when a test tube with some substance fell on me, which resulted in me having an enhanced metal genome and my nickname, Steel Shinobi. I was a little over 3 years old, so I don't remember well. Getting past the village guards wasn't particularly difficult, and I got out of the village without any problems. Moving quickly, I very soon found myself approximately where the entrance should be. I remember that the entrance to the 7th F at Seeked Up base was somehow the same as the base itself. Right, I remembered. There should be a handle here, and if you drop some blood on it from someone who's been here before, it should open. And this handle, here it is. I didn't notice her right away behind the bush, but as soon as I pulled out the poor plant, she appeared before my eyes. I wonder how Obito and Madara got here. The barrier here is too strong to move, even my daddy can't get through it. But I don't see any blood on this handle, so what? Okay, I'll ask them about that themselves. We bite our finger, drip some blood. Nothing happens. Why doesn't this surprise me? What if you blow? I'm crazy, right? Well, there's some truth to that. In many cases, my unhealthy thinking kicks in. And it often gets me past dangerous situations. I just went through all the verbs and found that Tobi-kun used the word, blow, in his message. Putting 2 and 2 together, I came to this result. I'm not smart, I'm sick. Hidan was the first to tell me that. Although who the fuck would say that? Yes, I had a happy childhood. I'll tell you about it some other time. I decided to blow on the pen in the blood, and I was right. After all, Obito is definitely an idiot. Well, it's not for me to judge him. The drug addict's door slid aside and I walked inside. Oddly enough, the torches on the walls were burning. I picked one up and wandered down the steps. It's best to walk here, movement doesn't work, and running is pure suicide. It took a long time to walk, especially since the steps here are also shitty, and everything here is like that. I don't really like this base, so I never went here again after that incident with the test tube. But now I've gone down to the very bottom floor, and I'm already walking straight down the dark corridor, without turning. Madara-san is definitely in the lab, and if he's not there, then Tobi-kun is definitely there. That's 100%, he can only be in the observation center. The thing is, this base, although it's AF at Seeking 1, is the main one. From it, you can monitor the state of everyone else, and that's what the observation center usually does. Everyone, except Obito. He sits on one of the computers there, playing games. All the time. It's always been that way. When I got to the lab, unsurprisingly, I didn't find Madara. I had to trudge to the observation center. Unlike Madara's science floor, as he called it, the 14th floor was entirely devoted to observation. So he had to climb up that nasty staircase and go there. Seeing the light at the end of the room where the floor started, I thought that Tobi-kun was playing on the computer again, and decided to go up to him and scare him, but it was not to be. Coming out from around the corner, I moved into a more spacious room. There was a light there. There was a bed against the wall farthest from me, and Madara was lying on it. The rejuvenation technique still kept him in a normal state, but judging by the amount of chakra he had now, it wouldn't last long. Yo, I waved to the elder Uchiha, and Obito appeared nearby. I waved to him too. What's wrong with your chakra, Madara-san? It's leaking. I just underestimated my opponents. It's a small thing, that's all. It proves I'm not a native Uchiha. Is it hereditary for them to underestimate strong enemies? Did someone kick you? Can I find out who it was? I'd like to see this person in person. To take out the founder of Konoha, who can fight equally with Kyuubi, you have to try. These are very dangerous opponents. Someday you will face them yourself, and you will see for yourself their strength. I will tell you everything I could find out about them. He coughed up blood, but continued to maintain a normal appearance. How strong are these people? Go ahead, tell me, Madara-san. I promise to hit them a couple of times for you. To this, the Uchiha only chuckled reservedly. These people are completely immune to any type of chakra, be it Biju or human. They have blood like humans, and you can use it against them. They have a special power, so you can win with just physical force. Quite a lot, that's enough. You said that I should only use techniques that use the opponent's blood as a building material in extreme cases. I paused for a moment. At that moment, Madara nodded, confirming my words. Would it be an extreme case if I met these people? Yes, definitely. Madara coughed again, but continued speaking. Beware of people who call themselves Guardians of the Kuroi Taiyo, that is. The end of flashback. The Guardians of the Black Sun. I finished the words spoken by Madara then. Absolutely right, Steel, so you decided to conduct the conversation in this direction. Clever. So what do you need? It would be very mean if my teammates and the old man woke up now. This will be cruel. Where is Uchiha Madara? And don't lie that you don't know. 1, 2, 4 of them. Oh, no, 5. Behind all the guards stands some girl, cute, judging by the chestnut hair sticking out from under her hood, brown-haired. By the look of it, a little younger than Pussy. Fuck. Don't fool yourself, Menma, she's one of them too. Madara is dead. I'm not lying. He really did die, right before my eyes, and I rarely imagine anything. You're lying. The most brutal man of them stepped forward and proudly took off his cloak. Not impressive, to be honest. He looks more like a worker than a warrior. Why would I lie to you? Damn, these stupid idiots are coming to their senses. If Kakashi can still do something without chakra, then there's no use in Pussycat, Sakura, and especially Tozuna. Just extra hemorrhoids. According to our data, there are 4 surviving Uchiha, a female voice spoke. A pale-skinned blonde with very large green eyes stepped forward. Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Sasuke, Uchiha Madara, and you, Steel, you have a sweet voice, Auntie. And I tell you, Madara is dead, and he doesn't care. What's going on here? Ooh, now it's really fucked up. Well, you see, Kakashi-sensei. I began, but was brazenly interrupted by a blonde with big eyes. Hatake Kakashi, copy ninja. Mentally, the ash-haired man drawled. Commentary on Chapter 7. Kuroi Taiyo, Guardians of the Black Sun. Just like that, Suddenly. Chapter 8. No, this is simply unthinkable. Why in this damn world does everything always go wrong? I've tried to plan everything down to the second a million times, and somehow I always fail at it. For example, right now. How I planned. I'm sitting, not bothering anyone, my comrades wake up, yell at me, bombard me with questions, calm down. We quickly complete the mission, catch the gratitude of the locals for saving their country, and get the hell back to Konoha for our honestly earned money. But no, everything always happens at the right time. The guards appear exactly when Pussy and the others decided to wake up. They had been lying unconscious for 2 hours, and then suddenly woke up. Madara died 2 months after the Uchiha clan massacre, and the guardians decided to find me and ask if he was alive or not, right here and right today. Well done, fuck. I don't like this life. I didn't want to be a shinobi, I didn't want to fight, I didn't want to be a killer. I thought many times about escaping the land of fire and moving somewhere far away. To a peaceful country with few ninjas living there. But that, unfortunately, is impossible. I'm the son of the 4th Hokage. I can't be an ordinary person, I can't on principle. The blood is wrong. And Kyuubi won't be happy, I'm supposedly the guardian of the strongest Biju of all. I'm cool. He started talking about something. Meanwhile, a certain big-eyed woman named, I think, Menali was trying to burn a hole in Kakashi with her evil gaze. Who, in turn, gave her an equally deadly look, but there was also surprise in his eye. Do you know each other? I had to somehow relieve the oppressive silence. The other guardians' gazes moved from the sensei to the blonde and back. Everyone waited patiently for an answer. It's a long story. How? It pisses me off when people say that. Oh, it pisses me off. It's a long story. Come up with something more interesting. What a banality. Yes, it's very long, Kakashi confirmed in a hoarse voice. Meanwhile, attention, Pussycat, Sakura and Tozuna have woken up. They've woken up completely. Just in time. What's going on? Sasuke asked sleepily as he passed through the barrier and approached the scene. We're staging Shakespeare, apparently they didn't understand me. Oh, uncultured people, how can this be? We've moved away from the matter. Remember the working man, it turns out he's a terribly businesslike man. Where are you rushing to? You can't see, people are sorting out their relationships here. Silently, of course, but you never know, it's different for everyone. Where is he? Oh, let's not name names, I like it better that way. Fuck, he got it, he's dead, I already said it twice. Why are you looking at me like a fly at jam? Do you want me to explain it to you in Chinese? Just as I decided to translate my thoughts into the complex Chinese language, I heard the thin voice of that same brunette. Maybe he's not lying. Timidly, however, apparently, she's not particularly respected among her colleagues. But thanks for the support. Shut your filthy mouth, Akasuna. Hoo, are you serious? Akasuna, she's Sasori-san's relative. Cool. Man, take it easy, she's a girl, I said warningly. So where is he? I'm asking for the last time. Wow, we left the bay. Ignoring my skeptical expression, the man continued his thought. Or should I ask another Uchiha, are you hinting at Pussy? The way he said it, a simple question was born in my head, I wonder if he's stupid. No, well, that's what I thought at first, but hope dies last. You're fucking nuts. That's it, I'm going crazy. Come here, I'll beat you. Well, are we going to fight or make eyes? Without warning, I attack the guy. I take the katana out of its sheath and disappear. I appear behind him, cut him with a cross, my favorite move after all. It cuts, oddly enough, quite well. He gasps and jumps away from me in the opposite direction. I look back first at the guardians, then at my teammates. Some are standing, calmly watching, others have swallowed the words they wanted to say to me. The man releases his energy, and Tozuna is immediately knocked out. Sakura collapses on the grass, but is still conscious. Pussy holds up well, only her knees buckle a little. But that's okay. Oh, he sped up. He attacks me, I block the attack with one katana. Oh, but now it doesn't cut. That's not very good, especially considering how many of them are here. I'll have to take Madara-san's advice. Oh, I don't like this technique. It's nasty. But I have no choice. Are you going to use that technique? Kurama's low voice boomed in his head. Yeah, is all I answer. I sheathe my swords, I won't need them. I carefully pass Cubic's chakra through my entire body, my bones and muscles are getting stronger. Now I'm as good as iron. Sighing, I move straight to the man, and before he realizes, I pull his hand away. The blood that had started to spurt out like a fountain began to turn into iron in the blink of an eye, and in the meantime the guard was gradually losing his blood. But then he did what I feared. He tried to hit me with his free hand, but I jumped back in time. Taking advantage of my recklessness, he quickly stopped the bleeding in the wound with medical equipment. Well then, I sighed resignedly, and then it dawned on me a little. I'm the owner of the Sharingan. Why am I bothering? I immediately activated my eye and caught the man in Tsukiyomi. It's not that easy for me, but I learned to divide my techniques into levels. And each technique has several levels. I decided to use the middle one on guard, and he won't break away, and I won't waste much energy. Akasuna mentally turned to the girl, and she, slightly bowing her head forward, obediently approached the scene of the massacre. For some reason, taking a deep breath, the girl gathered chakra in her throat. Oh, what's going to happen now? I'm just guessing, but Madara-san said that the most dangerous of them is the one who stands out the least. That's their rule for building a team. While I was thinking, she started screaming. Holy shit, this is a fucking ultrasound. I feel like my ears are bleeding. I quickly glance at my comrades in misfortune. The guards don't care. Kakashi is barely holding on, Pussy is convulsing on the grass, Sakura is passed out. Everything is bad. Enough, and everything stopped right there. I released the man from the genjutsu, and he fell to the ground. My chakra decreased, which is not surprising. I directed it to somehow muffle the sound. It's weird, Madara-san said that all their techniques are deadly for any ordinary shinobi, and very dangerous for those who have dojutsu or keke genkai. And I'm like some kind of leftist. My chakra has decreased a lot, I'm almost at zero, but I'm alive and I'm not going to die. Where is he? Speak, or you'll go to your ancestors. Auntie got angry. No, well this is simply unthinkable. I exclaim, turning off my eye. According to my information, there are 4 Uchiha left, so tell the truth. Honestly, what are you picking on? You're really getting on my nerves, bitch, grr, I'm so angry. I'm not an Uchiha, that's too much. 6 stunned gazes are fixed on me. Oops. Commentary on Chapter 8. No, this is simply unthinkable. With the help of Fox's chakra, Menma strengthened his body's strength, and therefore it was not difficult for him to rip out the man's arm. Chapter 9. With the breeze. Oops. My favorite word will soon become oops. Well, I was a little nervous, what can I say? Tobi-kun will kill me, of course, but now I know who to ask for help. Sasori-san will help me, and I will bring him this girl, he will be happy. Oh well. Right now I have more interesting problems. For example, what to do with all these people who are staring at me with their multicolored eyes? That's the question of questions, really. So, head, I'll buy you an Akatsuki hat if you give me a brilliant idea. Well, think about it. Hey, kid, knock out your teammates. Well, thanks, Mr. Fluffy Thinker. No, well, that's a good idea, by the way. I move behind Pussy, knock her out. Okay, now it's more difficult. Sleep, Kakashi, fall asleep. Oh, I mean Kakashi-sensei, please knock yourself out. Please, what's so hard for you? Oh, that's a different story. And now. Red Fur, can you erase memory? That's how we talk. Well, in theory, yes, Kurama answered in a thoughtful voice. So no, calmly, there is still time. Well, no, he shrugged and hung up. You're a dusty rug. Okay, concentrate, maybe kill them. I'm talking about the Guardians, by the way. No, well, who knows what someone might think. I've met all sorts of people. It's curious that these Guardians aren't doing anything. Are you so shocked by my ridiculous blunder? Well, screw them, they don't interfere and that's good. By the way, the idea of killing them all doesn't seem so bad to me anymore. The problem is that there are supposedly 4 of them, and I'm alone. Plus or minus to this, my chakra is not at its highest point. Although, chakra is still useless against them, sadly. And Kyuubi, damn him, isn't going to help me, and that pisses me off too. I was thinking about just leaving, but it looks like that would only cause me more trouble. I'll get in trouble with Obito, Itachi, and my dad as well. This isn't a mission, it's a real headache. Okay, let's use the element of surprise. Mina, my dear, it's your turn. My sweetest clone with a size 5 and 2 sharp swords in her hands quickly approached one brutal man, who hung for a bit, looking at the prominent advantages of the female version of me. It doesn't sound very good, but it worked, damn it. Mina, that is me, so we decided not to bother and cut his throat. Blood gushed out, taking with it the remains of his life, and Mina grinned triumphantly, heading for the next one. The second guy was young, and the sight of blood made him shudder slightly. Taking advantage of his confusion, she was about to cut his throat, but then the voice of the big-eyed mentally rang out. Akasuna. How predictable. By the way, I noticed something here. This boy and our stern blonde guardian are as alike as two peas in a pod, only they are of different genders. This kid also has green eyes, and his hair is the same light color. His facial features are also very similar. Which means that he is either her younger brother, or, strangely enough, the first thing I thought was that he was her son. Well, I'll just think about it. So, as soon as danger began to threaten her relative, Menali immediately became nervous and turned to Sasori-san's poor relative. It's just that, I think a little faster. Not this time, she turned to me, opening herself for a blow. Hesitating would have been life-threatening for me. I drew the katana from its sheath with lightning speed and cut her throat with a hand movement that was already habitual. How vile I am. Akasuna didn't use her technique as soon as she noticed that the blonde had lost her life. She quickly turned her gaze to Mina, who was about to finish off the boy. Please, don't kill him. Forgive me. If he is a direct relative of Menali, then why is she asking to leave him alive? I will never fully understand people. Okay. Oh, how kind I am today. Live already, cowardly zombie. It's just that he turned so pale, as if he was already dead. Why should I waste chakra in vain? I tell Mina to knock him out, and she does it. Then he disappears. Oh, how it shakes me to lose another piece of chakra. Well, that's it, my own is almost completely at zero. That's it, I want to sleep, everyone go to hell to the picnic. Hey, do you know in which direction this main village of the wave country is? I ask the girl. Well, who else, genius? I know, she answers timidly. I can take you, because I can't explain. My god, what an address. When was the last time someone addressed me as, you? A long time ago. Youth, what memories. I feel like Grandpa Madara. Don't kill me for this, Madara-san. You can address me as, you. I throw the lifeless joke corpse of Pussycat over my shoulder, wondering how the hell to drag them all. Do you by any chance know how to erase memory? Well, maybe. Let's hope for the best. Well, I can try. I am a censor after all. You. A censor? Don't make Kurama laugh. He choked on tequila. Where did he get it, the bastard? She walked up to Kakashi and put her hand on his forehead. For about 10 seconds her face looked like she had eaten a kilogram of lemons, and then it returned to normal. She walked up to the pussy and the weakling and did the same. Returning to me again, Akasuna said quietly. Done. We can go, Z're good. There's just one problem. Excellent. The only question is, how to get them all here. She thought for a moment, and then said with a small smile. It's not a problem, we came here on horses, are you serious? Horses. Hooray, I've always wanted to ride. Take me to them. There should have been a name I forgot to ask. Well, I'm stupid sometimes. So, I need to reboot my brain. Nikki, I understand, look. Okay, we're growing. We walked about 100 meters, and there were 4 horses tied up in the bushes. Wait, why 4? There were 5 guards. That was the question I decided to ask. Hey, Nikki, why are there only 4 horses here? There are 5 of you, what the hell? She sighed sadly and looked away. Okay, not interested anymore. If you don't want to, you don't have to answer. It's okay, she didn't convince, it's because they told me to walk. Oh wow. What a turn. We approached the tethered animals. I took hold of 2 by the bridles, and 2 more were tied to the saddles of others. Slowly we returned back to the scene of the massacre. It turns out that this blonde guy has already woken up and is now sitting, grieving over the corpse of his relative. When he saw us, he became wary, but immediately calmed down, looking at Akasuna. Hey, do you need a horse? I ask. He nods and gets up from the ground. Then you take one for yourself, and one with our wounded, and led them to the village where the bridge is still being built. He again turned his gaze to Nikki, and having received an approving nod, answered. Fine. We decided this. This weakling gets on his horse and throws Sakura over it. Because she pisses me off a little. We also thought for a long time about where to put the pussycat, and decided that we would put Sasuke and Kakashi on the most massive horse. Tadzuna went on some old and stubborn mare, and I chose the coolest one for myself. This is the horse of our stern green-eyed blonde, a rather tall black stallion. Then came the question, and where to put Nikki? I can't ride, and I'm not really a cowboy either. But I was overcome by a brilliant idea. I want to ride fast. I tied the horses in a caravan to the weakling's horse and sent him on his way to the village, saying, "Take these blockheads to their destination, and then you can go wherever you want. And tell your superiors that Uchiha Madara is dead." He nodded and slowly moved towards the village. "What are we going to do?" the girl asked timidly again. "And we'll ride with the wind in our hair." I smiled madly at my thoughts. "Get in." I helped her up, then climbed up behind her. "Well, hold on tight." Nikki, as if reading my thoughts, grabbed the saddle bow tightly. I kicked the horse in the sides, trusting in his training, and it was not a mistake. Rearing up, the black horse rushed forward, and the wind whistled in my ears. And yet, it's one thing to rush fast yourself, and quite another to ride so fast. When I get to the village, I'll buy myself a horse. No, I'd even rather take this one for myself. It was getting dark, but we were still racing across the flat terrain. By 10 o'clock in the evening we were there. Having got to talking, we even managed to give away a few state secrets, but these are trifles. I was interested in one question. "Are you a relative of Akasuna no Sasori-san?" She nodded, but decided not to find out who she was to him specifically. "I can arrange a meeting for you," I suggested. "That would be nice." Nikki smiled. "Well, see you then." I just nodded. What if my life isn't so bad? Ha, I shouldn't have said that. One person showed up here. Not a mission, but some kind of nightmare. Although, it's not all that scary. Not yet. Commentary on Chapter 9. With the breeze. Found an error. Highlighted it. Chapter 10. Go away, nasty thing. The founders of Konoha and all the Hokage are in your ass. Obito, don't kill Madara-san. This is the only Nukenin I know who really, honestly gives a shit about my difficult fate. Give him just a reason to teach me a lesson, he'll teach me to death. And today he decided to stop by, check how I'm doing here, how the mission is going. Why is everything always so out of time? It's annoying, the bitch, it's terribly annoying. Anyway, I just dragged all my good-for-nothing comrades into the bridge builder's hut and went to get some fresh air, and at the same time water and feed the horses. The moon is almost full now, and it's light. I calmly went down to the water, filled a bucket, and was walking back, when who appeared in front of me out of thin air? Obito. May his computer break for a month, and the ceiling at the fucking 7th base collapse. "Well, hello, Menma-kun," Uchiha said sarcastically, glaring at me with a displeased look. "And you won't die," I immediately retort. "Actually, that's why I came. How are you doing? How's the mission? And how do you explain your ridiculous blunder, thanks to which now presumably the entire leadership of the guards knows that you are not an Uchiha descendant? You were a piece of shit, and you still are. You haven't changed, Tobi-kun. I'm just curious, where did you, my dear, even find out about this?" I didn't do it on purpose. It was that lady with the huge emerald green eyes. It was because of her that I got busted. I decided to turn on my favorite mode. Talk non-stop so that everyone's ears wilt. This is the working title for now. And anyway, I took out 3 guardians and stayed alive, so I'm cool, and besides, they all don't remember anything anyway and won't tell anyone, and anyway. That's it, I got it. Obito interrupted my dismal tirade. "What? Have you given up, you loser?" Muhaha, I grinned triumphantly. "But that doesn't mean I lost. And do you remember I showed you one cute genjutsu, where?" No, Tobi-kun, you don't hate me so much that you'd show me your fluffy, pornographic, and even unconventional, fucking genjutsu movie again. Wait, do you want me to give you a ride on a horse? Feed you some rice, cakes? But it was too late. In genjutsu, the last rays of the sun disappeared behind dark leaden clouds approaching from somewhere in the east. Darkness enveloped the bloody valley. It will rain soon. What the fuck is this fucking elegy? The noise of the waterfall was momentarily drowned out by a monstrous explosion from powerful equipment, which left a huge crater in the ground. A bright light illuminated the space. A huge red flame rushed with terrifying speed, burning everything in its path. Having encountered a stone wall that suddenly appeared straight out of the ground, the fire instantly dissipated, leaving behind only a reminder in the form of scorched trees and earth blackened with soot. Stop! The cry of the young brown-haired man cut through the silence that had dragged on after the explosions. In response to his remark, another fireball flew at him, cutting through space with a whistle. But this time too he was thwarted. A similar projectile flew towards him, but it was made of water. "I beg you, stop, Madara." The owner of Wood Techniques calls out again. Both opponents are already pretty exhausted, the bleeding wounds just won't heal. There is simply no strength left for treatment. Oh my god, what kind of snot is this? I can't. The brunette whispers quietly, lowering his heavy black gaze to the charred ground. Once again, the seals are formed with lightning speed, but this time a huge fire dragon is already rushing towards Hashirama. Having put up a thick wall of water to protect himself, the brown-haired man avoided a direct hit, but he was still slightly hurt. Both of them were running out of strength, and Senju was the first to give in. The man's knees buckled and he sank to the ground. There was malice in his eyes, he was angry at himself. After all, he was unable to stop his friend. Let me out of here. Madara didn't move from the spot, and he couldn't have. The through wound in the chest area and the punctured right lung had already made themselves known. So all he could do was wait until his strength was completely exhausted and he fell dead onto the rocky, cold ground. How did this happen? That's it, I've had enough. Reality. Ah, get this away from me. Go away, nasty thing, disappear. I practically screamed, abruptly jumping out of the illusion. Glaring angrily at Toby, I shook my head, about to attack, but at the last moment I changed my mind. So who's the loser here? I don't give a damn about you, one-eyed monster. May you be fried in hell on a frying pan with olives. Wow, I came up with revenge. Who here doesn't like olives? I'll crumble olives into your rice, so you'll never notice. I threatened, slowly approaching the entrance to Tazuna's house. Oh no, not that. Uchiha was theatrically scared, jumping away from me. That's it, and again my favorite victorious grin. Let's go eat some cake. And it doesn't matter that I'm kind of a missing nin, and I can't just go and walk into any house. Who the hell cares? No one gives a shit about you, Toby-kun. Everything's fine, let's go. I waved my hand, and we quietly made our way past Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami, and reached the refrigerator, where the treasured delicacy was located. Having taken it, we calmly headed towards my room, almost getting caught by Tazuna, who was passing by the corridor at such an inopportune moment. We sit and eat. Silence. Listen, I say after chewing, could you arrange a meeting with Sasori-san for me? I found his relative, he is distracted from eating the fourth piece. After thinking for a bit, Obito finally answered. Well, theoretically, I could, but I'm not officially a member of Akatsuki yet, I'm just their leader. Do you even understand what you said? I mean, they don't even know me. Why don't you go too? I don't know, Itachi yourself. He definitely knows Sasori and it's easier for him from that point of view. Well, I blundered, as usual. Thank you, Lieutenant Yasenpen. That's what I'll do. And where can I get Itachi for you? It's easier to find Akasuna yourself, what are you staring at? Or is there something I don't know? You need to communicate less with Konoha Shinobi, your brain has completely atrophied. A funny joke. But seriously, Madara had contacts with all members of the organization, and especially with Itachi, he is an Uchiha after all. It will be easy for you to find him. Wow, how cute it is. Okay. Where are these contacts, or at least information about them? Do I look like a coyote with a stick of dynamite? Why are you looking at me like that? What do you think, huh? At the 7th base, naturally, I knew it, I'd have to drag myself there again. This is not life, but one big disappointment. Horror. A little over a month later. So, perhaps it's time to give you the latest news. A week before the present, a diplomatic meeting took place on the outskirts of the Wave Country between the dangerous missing nin Momochi Zabuza, better known as the Demon of the Bloody Mist, and the famous assassin and smuggler Uchiha Menma, also called the Steel Ninja. You can find out the results of the meeting from the missing nin themselves. To other news. The search for Akasuna no Sasori continues. Today, the famous detective nicknamed Steel meets for negotiations with a contact of a certain Uchiha Itachi, who knows the aforementioned Akasuna well. The meeting will take place 2 kilometers from the gates of Konoha village, and the information announced there is absolutely confidential. And the last news for today, in Konoha, the Chunin exam will soon take place. All young ninja who are not afraid to lose their lives and are smart enough to pass all the exams will be able to try their luck in a fight with the same shinobi from other countries. Sand, sound, grass and even waterfalls, they will all take part in the exam. But the strongest will win. This is how we live. I'm heading off to meet this guy, not forgetting to send a bird to Nikki, she should be here too, but tomorrow. Well, hello, I greet the contact, looking at him at the same time. Shinobi, presumably at the level of a strong Chunin. Well, nothing special, quite good. Hello, Steel. I was told that you wish to see Itachi-san. Well, Follow me. And he disappeared. Bitch, where should I go? Ah, right, a trace of chakra. I also disappeared, following the strange ninja. We walk for quite a long time, or rather move. I don't care, I'm used to it, but this dude amazes me. No breaks, no tired look, just a Hulk. This isn't what I think it is it? Water is dripping from the sky. It looks like we're in hidden rain. Having reached the entrance to the village, I lost sight of my guide. Well, screw him. I should probably talk to the rain's leadership. Akatsuki is there too, and Itachi is most likely here. Running, periodically hiding in the shadows of the walls from the patrolling shinobi, I reached the main, in my opinion, hall, in which were my old acquaintances, and several unknown individuals. What kind of AF occur is this? Hidan asked in surprise. Didn't he really recognize his old friend and co-author of the book, 1001 Ways to Kill? Hey, dude, take it easy, it's offensive, I said calmly, not paying attention to the insult. Menma, holy shit, how many years, how many winters. And you too, be healthy, lanky. Is it really you, Menma? That voice, Uchiha Itachi. Oh, great, you're the one I need. Do we have guests? Said a pretty girl with blue hair and amber eyes in a honeyed voice. Who are you, boy? Hey, how beautiful. My name is Menma. I'm here on business with Uchiha Itachi, and Akasuna Sasori as well, I answered with a sly grin, winking at her. So that's it. If that's the case, you're welcome. Unfortunately, Sasori is absent now, so you won't be able to talk to him, but I already understood, sort of. I'd like to chat some more with your leader, if he's here. Of course, follow me, Menma-kun, beckoning me to follow her. The girl headed to the door opposite the entrance, and softly touched the special seal on the lock with her thin fingers. The door slid aside with a quiet creak, and I followed the blue-haired girl inside. My name is Conan, by the way, she said, looking back. I just nodded. We walked like this for about a minute, until we reached a dimly lit room in which there were 3 large chairs. And that was it. Who is it, Conan? A muffled male voice came from the depths of the room. I didn't think you'd bring a stranger here, he said with a double hint. Why, he's not a stranger, he's Itachi's friend, the girl responded mysteriously. Let's get acquainted, Uchiha Menma, I introduced myself with feigned seriousness, winking at Conan with a sly grin. She responded with a sly smile. It seems to me that we will become friends, I already like her. I will organize a harem. Ah, the voice drawled incoherently. A silhouette of a middle-aged man appeared from the corner of the room, and then I managed to make out his face. Ahem, original. Red hair, sticking out just like mine, hedgehog-like, piercings on the nose, chin and ears. The iris of the eyes is lilac, several black circles spread across it, similar in shape and arrangement to ripples on water. The pupil is gray. In a word, Rinnegan. Just like Nagato Uzumaki, and how did it happen that the fox himself came to us? Guessed, the bitch. Stop. It's fucking Yahiko. He's the spitting image of him, I saw him in a photo in the archive. How so? He died. Who are you? Call me Pain, and I know English, dude. You're our sick one. You are Uzumaki Nagato, am I right? It looks like yes. 9-tailed. Why have you come? Just like that, but fox, and a stranger at that. I'm surrounded by nothing but poop. I wanted to know how you feel about the Guardians of the Black Sun. No, why not? Maybe they are my allies, that would be nice. They are strong, but they are our enemies. Their goal is to destroy any threat to the 5 great nations, what? You're kidding, Civ. Oh, really? What do they care about shinobi? Pain smirked. We heard that some ninja nicknamed Steel took out 3 of them. It was you, right? Well, me, so what? What do you think? Oh, Itachi has arrived. Take me away from here, you fucking relative. Leader, Menma and I have to go, we have a meeting, Uchiha said in a cold voice. Okay, go ahead, Nagato replied, drinking tea from a strangely colored mug. As I was leaving, I heard a snippet of a conversation between Conan and Pain. So, how do you like him? A female voice. A cheeky boy, Madara spoiled him. Oh, how do you know that? But I think he's such a handsome guy, the girl stood up for me. Conan. And what? I didn't listen any further, I just grinned triumphantly. It turns out I'm a handsome guy. We're growing up. Commentary on Chapter 10. Go away, nasty thing. I can't remember this girl's name, even if it kills me. Half of them will be reduced in the first stage, half in the second. Chapter 11. The Beginning of Problems. Commentary on Chapter 11. The Beginning of Problems. So, dear readers, I understand how nasty and disgusting I am, and also how many chapters there were, but I also had reasons to stop writing. As promised, an update in the new year. Regarding the Rinnegan, the conditions have been changed due to new information from the manga, but the plot will follow the same line. You've gone completely nuts, I exclaimed angrily. No, dear relative, it's dangerous for you to communicate with these people. What? Come on, blink your eyes at me here, it's your own fault. Now go and deal with them yourself. I'll show you the way. Uchihas, fuck. All of you are half poop. I hope you're all flushed down the toilet. Anyway, this red-eyed demon told Sasori-san something. And he told it very wrong. No, just imagine, Nikki and I, we were doing something in the field, and then I came to the village and cheated on her with pussy. Can you even imagine that? Really? Perverts. But I'm not like you. Well, is that normal at all? And our precious dollmaker, according to Itachi, reacted even more cheerfully. At first, he was happy about the fact that, so to speak, his dear relative was growing up. And then, having learned about us with pussy, no, that never happened, he was shocked and got very angry with me. He even wanted to go and make a doll out of me for the collection, but then for some reason he changed his mind. And you see, it's kind of interesting why he suddenly changed his mind, but it seems like he hasn't. I can't even bring myself to ask how they know all this. How did Obito know that I screwed up in front of the Guardians with my non-Uchiha origins? How could Itachi know that Nikki and I were riding around the fields like crazy, and what we were doing in those fields? Maybe I'm talking in my sleep. No, that can't be it. Why ruin people's reputations? Take me to Sasori, and I'll think about whether to forgive you or not. I demonstratively raised my chin to the sky and turned my head away from the Uchiha. Where the hell is that red-haired log with the strings? Quiet. That's it, we're not laughing. Itachi remained silent, thinking about what I said. Apparently, I said something very strange that even the great genius of the red-eyed clan needed time to figure it out. Well, let's go, and disappeared. What? Is my company so unpleasant to you, my dear relative? In general, this is an interesting thing. Both the monster with the tail on its head and its Hulk messengers, no matter how irritating it is to me, disappear without telling me where the fuck to go. And if that guy left a trace of chakra, then Itachi did not consider it necessary to do so. And I stand there and think about what to do. No, what do you suggest? How would I know where to go? Itachi, come back, I'll feed you dango. I'll train your brother for you. Or something else. Are you going to go? Oh, so he was here all this time. For some reason I didn't notice him, or he wasn't there, and he came back for my humble person. I always forget about chakra, sorry. Well, I can't forgive you, I'm offended at you, well, in general, I'm just furious. Uchiha doesn't answer, but he doesn't disappear either, although he really wants to, I can see it in his eyes. Abruptly tearing himself away from me, he moves away from me, and I realize almost in time that I need to follow him. Oh, how fast, slow down, I can't make it. Itachi seems to hear and decides that everything needs to be done exactly the opposite. He suddenly picks up speed, so that I almost lose sight of him. Oh, you little bastard, just you wait. I pass chakra through my legs and also accelerate, breaking the branch I jumped on. Well, I'm not used to it yet, I'm little. I approach Itachi and follow him closely. That is, close to his heels. Well, you get the idea. About 2 hours later I feel that it is starting to get warmer and darker. Don't get the wrong idea, we just crawled out of the rain, and while we were crawling it got dark. Why am I even explaining this? How much longer? I say resignedly, realizing that yes. A long time. I don't like it here, it's somehow sad, slimy, stuffy, dark, and in general I'm sliding along these stupid branches. What are we, monkeys or something? Why can't we walk on the ground? Yes, it seems I'm gradually becoming a pessimist, this is all the influence of the Uchiha poop. No, wow, you really surprised me now, a couple more minutes, my couple of minutes and his are seriously different. I'm impatient, you can already see it over there. He waved his hand vaguely towards some mountain that was emerging from behind the thick, centuries-old trees. This gives me hope, I sighed a little more cheerfully than was necessary in such a situation. Although, what kind of cheerfulness was necessary here? He's silent again, and this thing of his is starting to piss me off. Why does everything start to irritate me so quickly? The answer is simple. As good Uncle Toby said, puberty. How old am I? I don't remember. Anyway, it's time. I want to kill someone. While I was somewhere thinking, we finally got to the designated place. Designated by whom? There's no one there, just a mountain and a hole. I've always had poetic tendencies, if you haven't noticed. I'm really cool. The only thing cooler than me is when I'm high. That's when I'm just a god of strength, the ruler of the world, a hot Konoha. Moron. Hey, bitch, why are you ruining my entire impression of my great personality? Your log is already waiting for you there. What log? Did I miss something? What happened? Kurama, motherfucker. Hey, Uchiha, where are you? Over. Earth to Steel. Very, very funny, Itachi. Here he is, the man who loves to make fun of me. And no one else, just me. It used to kill me. And can you imagine the genius of the clan, the man who killed his parents, and how he laughs at me trying to unwind the bandages from my legs? What could be funny about that? So what if my roll of bandages rolled away, got tangled, fell into the fireplace, set fire to the tabletop and the bed, and almost burned down the base in the land of hot springs? I had to urgently call Kisame with water from his. It was terrible, although I was almost as old as I am now, but that's not the point. So what's funny? Huh? To the Steel Land. Welcome. Let's remember our golden childhood. I am glad to welcome you, Sasori-san, I said formally and respectfully, finally focusing my vision on the red-haired man. Do you know what he called you? Oh, you bastard, Itachi. I see he gets a kick out of me getting mad. And he also likes to set me up. Shut up, I shouted at the black-haired demon, continuing to smile sweetly at Akasuna. Sasori-san, don't pay attention to this evil spirit. One, Uchiha, that's what was in my gaze at that moment. I sent the bird to your relative, and tomorrow she will be here. Will you wait? Oh, by all means, of course I'll wait. Akasuna smiled at me reservedly, apparently laughing out loud at our squabbles inside. It seemed that while I was stuck in my thoughts, Itachi told him all my old and new punctures. Well, that's great. I clapped my hands and thought about what I wanted to ask. While I was there thinking thoughts, these two stood silently and looked. Where to? I have no idea at all. I was thinking at that time. What did I want to ask these silent devils? Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you, I continued, waiting until they both finally turned their precious attention to me. What do you know about the Rinnegan? They were silent for about a minute. Even longer. I'm already tired of counting, to be honest. It's probably an extremely complex question that requires an impossibly long thought process, which in turn takes away an incalculable amount of spiritual strength. Well, I don't know, I have to chat about something while they're thinking about what I can and can't tell them. Rinnegan, you say? Itachi was the first to wake up, as expected, with a thoughtful expression on his stone face. I don't know how else to describe it. Don't you know anything about it yourself? What are you saying? Of course not. Who can explain to me? Behind which ficus tree did he ask that? Ficus. I see that Kurama is not bored there. He is rolling on the floor laughing. Stop laughing at me, you're not a five-tailed mare after all. It seems like I just added fuel to the fire, and what didn't you like about my ficus? Everything would be fine if I didn't know that you actually have a ficus tree and its name is Wan. Shut up, you furry mop. Tahakamo Wan, I automatically corrected, and this simply took my red-haired, bloodthirsty and merciless demon out. I can just imagine him laughing his head off. Are you going to stop or not? There was no answer, and I reasonably assumed that for the next 3 hours my poor and long-suffering consciousness would be shaken by the incessant laughter of a certain well-known person. Steel is somewhere else again. What would I do without this pale-faced evil spirit? Probably, I would be stuck in my subconscious forever and chat with a red-haired doormat. Hey, oh, he stopped laughing, I'm going to get offended now. Well, go ahead and cry for me here. Leave me alone, it's your own fault. I'm still here, my dear interlocutors. Returning to reality, I immediately notice that it has become even darker. Itachi, you need a fire. Certainly, my dear Menma-kun, Uchiha parried my fire with his politeness. I will never forget your kindness, what's more, I'll even put up a monument to him, I'll have to take my little one to him. While I was designing a monument to our evil spirit with a tail, I managed to return in my thoughts to the fact that I did not tell anyone about my upcoming journey before leaving the village. I hope that my perverted sensei will have enough sense and endurance not to make a fuss and just wait, but as for those misunderstandings that act as my teammates, I am not at all sure. By the way, I never approached the question of when to begin the mission that I actually came to the leaf for. But these two Akatsuki members gave me a bunch of different thoughts. Well, something like, do I need it? Or, what is Madara really planning to do? He couldn't have sent me here just for this tiny mission compared to his plans for the future. Or could he? Although, by the way, now it has lost such meaning for me. Well, a mission, well, in a village whose Hokage is my father. So what? Nothing. Hey, Menma, what's wrong? Sometimes I forget that my fur scarf can hear my thoughts. Everything is fine. Itachi is having a bad influence on me. I'm becoming serious. I can't see his face now, but I'm more than sure that he has a skeptical expression on his face. Okay, almost convinced, not convinced at all, huh, furry. Go back to reality, or your goat Uchihovsky will turn the log into firewood. Menma, fuck, wake up and shine, the sun has set. If anyone doesn't understand, then this was said by Itachi. Yes, he swears very rarely, but if he does, he doesn't even notice. Many people react strangely. A long time ago, when I was with Madara, he almost had a heart attack, because Itachi covered a new member of the organization with such a text that I learned a couple of new constructions. I was born. Well, that's completely out of topic. Let's try again. Oh, I mean, I'm already awake. Let's eat. It seems these devils don't want to eat. Or are they pretending? What, are you going to stand like this all night? One of them just burst out laughing. What, was this a joke? I'm more serious than ever now, because it's about food. We're sitting, the puppeteer carefully corrected me, not wanting to tear his gaze away from the blazing fire. Stop. Fire. Itachi, you made a fire. Let me kiss you. If we were in another country, he would probably cross himself. But his face was asking to be photographed. For heaven's sake, calm down, or I won't tell you about the Rinnegan. He knows how to buy me, the red-eyed bastard. No wonder he even partially controls Akatsuki. It's good that we're not enemies. More precisely, we have common enemies, and we ourselves are partners. Tell me, I said in the most demanding tone I could muster, not forgetting about my big eyes. By the way, something is clearly wrong with my eyes. I get tired of looking into the distance for a long time. This is alarming. I need to consult with Tobi-kun. But I still want to eat, I added calmly. Well, Uchiha settled himself more comfortably and continued, Rinnegan is a very powerful dojutsu, which, if you believe the legends, the Sage of the Six Paths had, as well as his mother. I have no information about her name. With the help of these eyes, you can use a number of techniques that have no analog, and only a very strong shinobi can resist them, although, I think you already know all this, don't you? I nodded briefly, waiting for the next story, but Itachi interrupted. What exactly do you want to know? I understand that you know a little more than I do, for example, the full version of all these legends. But I am interested in information closer to reality. Who among the living possesses the Rinnegan? Uchiha thought, calculating something in his mind. Most likely, if we were alone, he would have answered right away, but Akasuna's presence forced him to choose his words. You already know about pain, and I can't name anyone else. He confirmed his words with a nod, but I saw something in his eyes that led me to the conclusion, he knows at least one more such person. Well, thanks for that, tailed one. You know, they both looked at me, waiting for the continuation of the phrase, but realized that I did it on purpose and achieved the result. I had a brilliant idea. And what is it? Sasori-san is interested. Apparently Itachi has already told him who I really am. Let's kill pain. Surprised. Although they didn't show it, I still see a bit of surprise in the eyes of both missing nin. Let's take the Rinnegan and get power. I continue. And whoever helps me, I'll give one, and we'll be invincible apostates with a legendary dojutsu. And a demonstrative menacing look at the sky. Well, I'll see how you'll kill the leader. This Uchiha is always the first to back down from my statements. Apparently, he's gotten used to it. I often joke around. Only he almost stopped making fun of me. It's even somehow offensive, it was so funny. And now I'm starting to feel sad. Tobi will bury you alive if you disrupt his plans, or suck you in with his big eye in Kamui. Oh, come on, don't you really want lilac eyes? By the way, no matter what anyone else might think up, I'm serious. But now this is the last attempt to recruit allies. I'll still kill this civ, I've already decided. Actually, Akasuna began, and I immediately turned all my attention to him. There are some ways to awaken the Rinnegan, but you need to have special genes for this. Having given me time to think, he continued, looking at the fire. What is it with fire? He does not take his eyes off it. The most famous way is serious psychological trauma. The same is needed to obtain the Mangekyo Sharingan. There is another way, but it is more difficult. you need to combine the genes of the Senju and Uchiha in your body. But, as far as I know, this is possible only after the stage of eternal Mangekyo. He stopped again, thinking about his further answer, but for some reason it seemed to me that this was all he knew. I have never heard of other ways. You need to contact researchers or historians about this. I knew it. My log with strings can no longer say anything. Well, it is not surprising. If every missing nin knew how to obtain the Rinnegan, I'd be fighting a horde of purple-eyed people in the Five Great Nations Alliance right now. This is very valuable information. Thank you, Sasori-san. I thanked him politely, and, surprisingly, he tore his gaze away from the fire and stared at my humble person. What? He was never thanked. Poor little stump. I can also recommend you a source of information. For just a moment he exchanged glances with Itachi, as if asking something. But I didn't like the expression on my dear relative's face at all. The one who has a huge amount of information is Orochimaru. I specifically watched their faces at that moment. If they weren't shinobi, they would definitely have winced in disgust, but they both held back. Hell, actually, I've never met the snake in person, and I can't imagine why everyone dislikes him so much, except for particularly serious crimes, but he's not the only one guilty of that. And it's not just my Uchihas, but the rest of the missing nin, they all do that to him. I'll have to cross paths with the poor, offended head of the Sound Village sometime, otherwise, pain forbid, I'll start feeling sorry for him. Then Obito will definitely suck me into Kamui. But you have to be careful with him, especially the Uchihas. Exactly, Orochimaru wanted Itachi for himself when he was in Akatsuki. But he doesn't need me, he'll immediately guess that the eye is not mine, even despite the implanted red-eyed genes. I have nothing to worry about. Another thing is, this is a sweetie. After all, he is natural, and Orochimaru cannot help but know about it. Will he come for him? He will. And does Itachi know about it? He knows. And you know what? He won't lift a finger, although inside he will worry. And before, I could not understand how this was possible. If I had a brother, he would live with me and I would take care of him myself, and not abandon him alone in some village. But now for some reason I am starting to think that he is doing this with a very far-reaching goal, but what is it? Apparently, I am not yet old enough to figure this out. And it is almost impossible to extract such information from the pale face. Why did Orochimaru leave Akatsuki? I asked distantly. Well, so what? How would I know what was going on there? Maybe he was harassing Konan and Nagato kicked him out. I'm kidding, he left himself. They say he almost betrayed him and that's why they sent assassins after him. Exactly, Sasori-san. And that guy Itachi cursed like crazy. I don't remember his name, don't ask, but the red-eyed guy said he looked like Ino. I won't tell you how Uchiha found out about that stupid Yamanaka, it's a very long story. Who the hell knows, plans must have changed. Itachi calmed down for a short time and stopped glaring at anyone who mentioned the snake, but immediately became wary again, sensing the approach of a person. Someone is coming, yes, we already guessed, smart guy. But he still didn't answer the question. Looks like she got here safely. I couldn't help but smile with satisfaction, which was trying to become wider than it should have been. What's going on? And I've only met the girl once. Greetings to all. She is still polite and speaks in a quiet and timid voice, but it is clear that the death of that woman with big eyes has done her good. Nikki-chan, it's good to see you. Sasori-san's face began to resemble the face of a caring father who met his daughter after many years. How are you doing? Very good, she smiled contentedly, and turned her gaze to me, after which, embarrassed, she looked away. I didn't understand something now, and what exactly happened, to a large extent thanks to Menma-kun. Really? What did he come up with, the Uchiha goat? I saw such a sarcastic expression on his face only once, and that was a long time ago and it wasn't true. Go to hell. I wanted to choose a destination for this Sharingan demon's long and fun journey, but for some reason I didn't want to swear in front of a girl. Hidan, save me, fuck. Well, we'll leave you. With these words Itachi grabbed me with his rake with painted nails and dragged me to the corner. More precisely, to the side. Apparently, he decided to be generous and give his relatives a chance to chat in private. To be honest, I somehow didn't think about the fact that they knew each other. Where did Akasuna even have relatives? He's a lot of years old. Uchiha just stood there and kept quiet, but I'm already used to it. Don't get me wrong, we're not that close, but we have such unanimity sometimes. If he were a girl, I would marry him, but no luck. So, off to the wrong track again, off to the wrong track. I need to stop thinking about these little thoughts already, or I'll end up without a girlfriend. Well, That's unlikely, Ninetail chuckled, filing his claws with a huge nail file. Yes, this monster asked to create a large tool for grooming his clawed paws, and add more light to his cage. And in general, remove the cage. And a lot more, but we're still at the nail file stage. Why? I'm still dumb because everyone around me knows something that I don't understand. Because you have at least 2 options for life partners. Kurama smirked when he saw my face full of incomprehension, but he didn't continue and kicked me out of his domain. Well, okay, no. This is my subconscious, by the way. Tell me, Menma, wow, this phenomenon is more than unusual, it's incredible. I don't remember Itachi asking me about anything first. If you were in my place, what would you do for my little brother? I thought about his question seriously, because Itachi never jokes about this topic, and therefore my answer could mean a lot. You can't answer spontaneously. What would I do? You asked once before, but my answer has changed since then. I didn't look in his direction, but I felt him turn around in anticipation of an answer. Then I answered that I would take him with me from that rotten village and raise him as a strong shinobi, albeit a renegade. I had to pause to watch his reaction and how he remembered. And what has changed since then? I understood why he asked this, because essentially he too saw me growing up. Madara-san would have done the same. They both want or would like to hear my new, more meaningful answer, since I always see well what makes sense and what doesn't. A lot. I don't want to reveal this topic. I don't trust him that much. He'll tease me later. Right now my answer is this. I would do it in such a way that it would bring the most benefit in the future. The same way, by the way, as you do. But with one thing. I didn't continue right away, giving him time to absorb the information, but he quickly dealt with it, forestalling my subsequent statement with his question. But what? Is there something you still think is wrong with my actions? I nodded, while simultaneously thinking about how best to present what I wanted to say. The only, but, is that I wouldn't let him kill me. Itachi's pupils widened in surprise, though only for a second, but that was enough for me to understand that I was moving in the right direction. Why? He turned away, realizing that his eyes were giving away his emotions. But I mostly don't care. I can always guess anyway, but I'm more interested in his reaction to my next answer. Because even if you die, you will punish not yourself, but him. His questioning look was an unpleasant surprise for me, but I decided not to focus on it. I had no time. Understand, Itachi, if you don't care what happens to you, think about Sasuke. How will he live with this later? I don't think I quite understand you. He didn't regret raising this topic, no, but it hurt him now, because his heart had already guessed what I was going on about. Now he's puffing with his thirst for revenge, thinking that he'll kill you and live happily ever after. I turned away and, after a pause, continued, and if he found out the truth, how do you think he'd feel? He killed his own brother with his own hands, and he can't fix anything. And he'll be alone with this for the rest of his life. I finished my monologue with an exhalation, not expecting an answer from Uchiha. Let him think as much as he needs. These are all the problems of these two, and they don't concern me much. I can't interfere directly, my role is to give advice. His question made me think about my own family again. Damn Itachi, it's always like this because of him. As soon as he starts asking questions like that, that's it. I'm starting to look like the third Hokage, just as gloomy and serious. In general, I've already thought about giving up on the mission a couple of times and laying my cards on the table. I'll live with my dad, I'll practically become the heir to the throne. I don't think that's bad. But then and now, there's one thing that stops me. I'm too grateful to Madara to betray him so easily. Of course, he could have counted on this when he took me back then, but I don't care much. Even if he's dead, he still somehow controls the organization's affairs in Obito and I'm in business. Besides, I actually have a lot more privileges. I'm still much better than the one-eyed man. So for now, there are no reasons for returning to the family, except that the fourth is my father and is waiting for me. I got you. He pulled me out of my train of thought too suddenly, so that I even flinched a little. Damn, Uchikov turd, who does that? And by the way, I even gave him time to think. Ungrateful. I hope you drew the right conclusions, I snorted discontentedly. He only grinned at this and took something out of his bosom. I couldn't make out this something in the darkness until he handed it to me. It turned out to be a small package tied with a dark green ribbon. What's this? It's time to return to my usual manner of speaking. Seriousness doesn't quite suit me. Well, if I haven't just insulted myself, of course. It's for your eyes, a temporary measure, of course. Itachi shrugged and watched my reaction carefully. Well, and what about me? The star is in shock. What is happening now? What other eyes? Eyes. Fuck. Where are you from, omnipresent evil spirit? He didn't let me finish with a gesture, and his face acquired a peaceful look, but he immediately became serious again. Take it while you can, it will slow down the loss of your vision. Damn him, such a straightforward guy. And how am I supposed to live with this? He's ruined all my enthusiasm for the future. Do you seriously think that I'll lose it? Well, he's partly right, of course. As I already said, something really is happening to my eyes, and has been for a long time now to start worrying, but that's me. I may be paranoid, but I didn't start sounding the alarm ahead of time. I have a Sharingan, so what should I worry about? As it turns out, there was something to worry about. If that happens, it won't be anytime soon. Well, thanks for the encouragement, what can I say? It's a side effect of your genome, so you understand. Damn, I didn't even think about it. I thought maybe it was all the special vision training. I even stopped it, but it's unlikely that anything changed. How do you know that? Yes, I got a little angry now, but I can be understood. I think that any normal person would have such a reaction if they were told about possible loss of vision. I've known you for a long time, and I can say with certainty that you're going blind because of metal techniques. Watch yourself carefully. I'm not going to delve into all my fights using my favorite element now, and so it's better for me to remain silent on this matter. Thank you, Itachi, I'll take that into account. He nodded and thought about his own, and I lowered my eyes and closed them, enjoying the calm silence. But it was broken, again, and this time it wasn't the Uchiha. We have finished our conversation, Sasori-san announced in a casual tone, looking closely at the dark silhouette of Itachi, who had not paid any attention to him. I suppose, as have you. Yes, that's right, we've already talked enough and want to go home and sleep. I yawned demonstratively, infecting Nikki with it. And what, aren't you going together? It was stupid, but what can you do? I had to ask, what else could I do? No, Nikki-chan will go back to the territory of her organization, as I will, actually, the red-haired man answered with a slight grin on his lips, turning a peaceful look to me. Wow, and this is Akatsuki. Children have a strange effect on them, I know that. I should take her home. In fact, it should have been a question, but judging by the faces, no one objected, and the statement smoothly turned into a statement. Well, that's good, that makes life easier. Well, let's go, and I turned around and headed in the direction. Okay, just a minute, where exactly should I go? Turning back to the trio, I noticed with a good-natured grin on my lips how Nikki, barely holding back the laughter that was bursting out, was standing half-turned and looking in the diametrically opposite direction. Itachi, also seeing this picture, burst out laughing, but quickly calmed down, and, waving goodbye to me, disappeared into the darkness. A little later, Akasuna followed him, slightly bowing his head as a sign of respect. Wow, this is even a little nice. After all, when such a dangerous missing nin acknowledges you, I know that it is not so easy to gain their favor. But I have a real talent. And these are not my words. Well, shall we go? Akasuna the younger called out to me and, giggling, headed towards the base of her organization. I realized that I needed to follow her and hurried to catch up with the girl. The area around us is not bad. There are still a couple of hours until dawn, and the moon still illuminates the way well, beautifully filling the road with silver light. By the way, one of my friends once told me that it is in the moonlight that my blue eye, which I got from my father, looks simply incredible. Maybe I should take off the lens and show it to her. Well, why not? This girl knows that I am not an Uchiha, she won't be surprised. Nikki, I attract Akasuna's attention, slowing down my pace, and then stopping altogether. Do you want me to show you something very beautiful? Of course, she nodded with a slight smile, and with genuine interest began to watch how I carefully removed the onyx-colored lens and put it away in a box that I had previously pulled out of my pouch. My real eye does not amaze her at all, but she still looks at it, fascinated. Now look, I said, looking up at the night sky filled with millions of stars. I couldn't see her expression, but her rapturous sigh said it all. What do you see? Stars. Like space in your eye, bottomless and endless. This is the best thing I have ever seen. I have never heard this from anyone before, and so my pupils dilated in surprise. What a romantic you are, don't ruin the moment, my fluffy one. Atston, I didn't want to waste time talking about this misunderstanding when I had something like this going on here. Look, I don't value Kurama that much. Are you in love with her or something? What? What? Don't talk nonsense. Are you on drugs or something? I yelled at his face, not noticing that it had changed color. Guessed right. I urgently closed all channels of communication with the red demon, giving myself some peace inside, but it didn't help. Apparently, Cubic and I have known each other for too long for him not to know how to get me mad. I need to be focused on one thought, and I'll think about it for a very long time. And in the meantime, he'll start his, get out of yourself and come in normally, or his favorite, I'm trying for your sake. Yeah, right. Menma-kun, where are you? Oops, she caught me off guard, what can I say? It's okay, I'll go away now, I'm sorry. Everything is fine, thank Kami that my voice almost never trembles, even when I am beside myself with indignation. I want to thank Madara-san for this once again. When communicating with him, you always had to keep yourself in hand, otherwise he would read you like an open book. I started to succeed after meeting one guy from the waterfalls, with whom we trained for some time. Here he is, the best example of how a person should hide his emotions, and he reads people perfectly. And, what is best, he taught me all this. Because I am quite flighty by nature, and all because of my mother and her red-haired clan, they say they are all like that. Because of her genes, it was difficult to make an Uchiha out of me, but it worked out. True, I am still very impulsive. And sometimes I get hysterical, but that is already an Uchiha thing. Let's go, I nodded, and she went forward, but immediately froze in place as soon as I took the box with the lens out of my bag. Don't put it on, I didn't bother to ask why, since her look was enough for me. The main thing is not to forget to put the lens back later. We walked for about an hour, without breaking the silence, each thinking about his own. But it seemed that way to me, because we were thinking in the same direction, as evidenced by the girl's happy face. I couldn't help but smile, admiring the pre-dawn sky. Just as I wanted to say something smart and sweet, she beat me to it, damn it. By the way, I'm leaving the Black Sun Guardians, my gaze changed only slightly, but she noticed it and smiled lightly, turning her head in my direction and continuing to walk. Should I be happy? Or sad? You might have problems, I'm not worried, but I need to clarify. What if her superiors got on her case because I left Akasuna alive for no apparent reason? And they kicked her out as a traitor, what a nightmare. But for some reason I'm inclined to think that she left on her own. I know what you're thinking about now, and where it came from, I wonder, but there were no problems with that. I submitted a petition, took a vow of silence, and they let me go, but with one small condition, I knew there would be a catch. Those swamp devils, they can't let a girl go calmly, they have to set conditions for her. I hope it's not my death. With a nervous laugh. This is the first assumption that came into my sick little head, but, thank Kami, it is not true. No, what are you saying? Did it seem to me, or did fear flash in her eyes for a moment? Probably a miracle, but that usually doesn't happen, I rarely imagine anything. Could she really be thinking seriously? What a thing. I just need to pass the Chunin exam, which will soon be in Konoha, I need to survive until the third stage, wow, what a twist. I don't like this at all. Are you kidding? I already realized that I'm not. Total bullshit, I tell you. I don't like this at all. Do they really want to do something in the village? Attack, kill the Hokage, kill me. The last option is the most plausible, to be honest. Firstly, I still remember Nagato's words about the guardians protecting the shinobi, so the attack option is out. Secondly, I've never heard of them attacking like this, with a team of children. And thirdly, I took out their comrades, and it's quite clear that the wrath of the authorities could fall on me. Oh well, that's half the trouble. Oh, damn, I just thought of one more thing. Some time ago I wouldn't have attached much importance to it, but after all these conversations with Akatsuki my opinion has changed. And no one was surprised by the fact that a ninja from the Sound Village took part in the exam. Do you know who the leader of this village is and who its people obey? That's exactly what I was talking about. Apparently, those devils in the Guardians, leadership are not stupid, and decided to figure it out themselves. But why do they need Nikki? I'm taking the exam with a team that includes 2 other people besides me, our leader and his personal bodyguard, she would have continued to explain, but stopped, noticing my anticipatory smile. What's wrong? I'm also participating. She was apparently pleasantly surprised by this fact, because her eyes became happy, so we'll meet there. But I have a question. Just don't be offended, but... I slowed down, trying to find better words. But what? I'm talking to her and I see one pale-faced and long-tailed Uchiha. They're practically throwing out the same phrases. Why would they want you on the team? She wasn't offended, and that was good, because that was exactly what I expected. Well, she's a girl, you never know how she'll take it. And anyway, your leader isn't a little boy, I hope. How will he sneak into the exam without being noticed? Judging by her reaction, I hit the nail on the head with my penultimate phrase. Damn. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, right when they were looking for a good censor and medic for the team. It's clear, they want her abilities, so as not to risk and not show all their power. The leader is a little older than you look, but they say he's actually older. We are under the wing of the waterfalls, and therefore there are no questions with the application. She shrugged and continued on her way, but came to her senses, because I remained standing in place. We've already arrived. I shouldn't go any further. How did I guess? No way. They just have an unpleasant feeling here. It's creeping up on me. Hearing my words, Akasuna noticeably became sad, but she didn't answer and simply looked into my eyes. Why? I still didn't understand, but it was not bad. See you, Menma-kun, she smiled lightly and waved her hand. But for some reason such a farewell was not enough for me. Of course, I understand that the moron, as he once said, or rather repeatedly chanted my biju, but I could not help but do it. See you later, Nikki. I quickly approached her and impulsively hugged her, immediately pulling away. Her pupils widened in amazement. At least she didn't hit me, right, idiot? I'm telling this to myself. It's good for me. Without waiting for a reaction to my actions, I disappeared. And it's a shame. For a short moment before she disappeared, I saw her eyes fill with moisture. The first day of the exam. I'm walking to the venue, noting along the way that the number of shinobi in the village has noticeably increased. There are Cenobites hanging around, scaring the locals. I even had to intervene a couple of times. But I only recently learned how to crash into poles. Whenever I think about it, that's it. I knocked Pussy off her feet a couple of times. She's still sulking. Sharingan hamster. In general, the hell has been going on since that incident. And who pulled me by what place so that I would do such an incredible stupidity? Probably all this is because Kurama didn't nag me. And where would I be without him? That's right, nowhere. Idiot, there are no words. Thank Kami that the nine-tailed fox was not a witness to this indescribably spontaneous act. Oh well, maybe she is not angry. Or maybe she has forgotten already, I hope. The main thing is that she does not ignore me, but we should not talk to each other until she has completely left the Guardians, otherwise you never know. By the way, what Itachi gave me is really an irreplaceable thing, but I didn't touch it yet. What if my eyesight gets really bad later? That's when I'll use this thing. Seriously, I feel so bad for him, for the red-eyed one. It would be better if he were my brother. Sasuke doesn't appreciate him. Stupid. I approach the entrance to the exam venue and see Pussycat and Sakura already waiting for me there. Great. Let the fun begin. Naturally, we get into the auditorium not without adventures, but that's nothing. There are already a huge number of shinobi in the room, and their reception is not very welcoming, but that's how they are with everyone. Each incoming team feels a bunch of scrutinizing and angry glances, but most quickly lose interest. But at least 6 people have not lost interest in me, and I realize with a sigh that I see familiar faces among the shinobi from other villages. Not good. I turn away and start a conversation with Neji, who arrived a little earlier than us and already found out some details. A familiar face number 1 joins us, whom I have seen somewhere before, but he either does not recognize me or is hiding well. In the midst of an exciting and informative conversation, I somehow miss the moment when everyone's eyes turn behind me. I slowly turn around and freeze in amazement. In front of me are 3 people with waterfall protectors. I recognize these people as guardians without a doubt. The tall, skinny guy on the right doesn't look at me, but he doesn't let me out of his sight either. He has a calm aura, but it's a complete deception. On the left is Nikki, but even her presence and gaze doesn't excite me as much as the man in the middle. His aquamarine eyes stare into my onyx ones in shock, and he doesn't look away. Shion. I exhale in amazement and hear an identical exhalation opposite me. Menma. He ignores the whispers from behind and continues to watch. So it's true. For some reason it seems to me that he is more surprised than me. And indeed, he speaks differently than before. These should have been my words.